Chapter 121. Malfoy finally stopped vomiting, but he was so weak that he couldn't walk back to the castle without someone to support him. But everyone had a lot to talk to Hagrid about, and no one was willing to go and see him off, so everyone left Malfoy aside and started chatting among themselves. Hagrid suddenly seemed to remember something and said, "I haven't settled accounts with you yet. I heard that Harry is giving out autographed photos. Why hasn't anyone sent me one?" Everyone couldn't help laughing, realizing that Hagrid was joking. Harry explained helplessly, "Who told you that? How could I possibly post a photo like that?" Hagrid patted Harry on the back affectionately, causing him to fall backwards. "Of course I know you didn't. Lockhart came here earlier and told me that. Of course I didn't believe it. I told him that Harry wasn't that kind of kid. He didn't need to put in any effort to be more famous than some people." Lucien smiled and said, "I'm afraid he won't be too happy if you say that. By the way, why did he come to see you?" Hagrid took a sip of his tea. "Looking for a reason. He wanted to teach me how to keep water monsters from getting into the well. As if I didn't know that. He even boasted to me about how he could exorcise female ghosts and all that. Well, if any of what he said is true, I'll eat the teapot." Lucien knew that Hagrid was not such a person. He never commented on Hogwarts professors unless that person was not worthy of respect and really made him angry, like Filch. Hagrid's words made Hermione frown. "I think it's a bit unfair for you to say that. Professor Lockhart was chosen by Dumbledore. He is the most suitable candidate for defense against the dark arts." Hagrid served them a plate of homemade fudge and said, "Not the best candidate, but the only candidate. I mean, it's hard to find a defense against the dark arts teacher these days. People don't want to do it. They think it's unlucky and no one can do it for a long time." Lucien nodded, it was true. Because no matter it was Professor Quirrell last year, Lockhart this year, or Lupin, Mad-Eye Moody and others in the future, no one could stay in this position for 2 consecutive years. Legend has it that when Voldemort was young, he wanted to teach this course, but was rejected by Dumbledore, so he placed a severe curse on this subject. From then on, any teacher who taught the defense against the dark arts class would encounter unexpected events. Lucien picked up a piece of fudge made by Hagrid, put it in his mouth and chewed it. He found that although it was sweet and mellow, it was very sticky. He didn't like this kind of dessert very much. Ginny, on the other hand, was enjoying the food. Lucien had teased Ginny many times about the toothache caused by eating too much sugar, but she just gave her a look and Ginny glared back knowingly. Then, when no one was paying attention, she twisted Lucien's waist. Hagrid seemed to notice their little action. He winked at Lucien and then said to Ginny, "Another Weasley. I hope you won't be as naughty as your brothers, I mean the Weasley twins." He said with great interest, "I don't know what good things the twins did a few days ago. Peeves controlled a big net to chase them all over the castle. They were really smart. When they were about to be caught, they hid behind a cabinet and shouted, 'Lucien is here.'" Peeves was scared to death. Everyone looked at Lucien with a smile, and Hagrid was laughing so hard that he fell backwards. When Peeves realized what was happening, he was so angry that he covered both the man and the cabinet with a net, but he didn't catch the man and broke the cabinet. Haha! When Hagrid was happy, he smiled and slapped Lucien's back with his big hand, making a bang-bang sound. Before we knew it, it was lunchtime and Hagrid warmly invited everyone to have lunch at his place. When Harry and the others saw Hagrid finishing a half-eaten pheasant, they suddenly lost their appetite. Lucien happily helped him. He planned to go to the vegetable garden to dig some potatoes and make a pot of chicken and potato stew for everyone. Hagrid took this opportunity to show everyone his achievements. Everyone came to the backyard vegetable garden and found that in addition to the common vegetables, there were also many super huge pumpkins. Hagrid proudly told everyone that these were for Halloween and would be made into giant pumpkin lanterns. After viewing them, they could be sent to the kitchen as ingredients. Ron asked in surprise, "Hagrid, what kind of fertilizer did you use? The crops in the greenhouse don't grow as well as dragon dung." Hagrid looked around, mainly at Malfoy in the distance, then blinked and whispered back, "Hey, I gave them a little, how should I put it? A little help." Lucien found that Hagrid's little pink umbrella was sticking out from his robe. He knew that it was not an umbrella, but Hagrid's magic wand. In principle, Hagrid was not allowed to use magic. When he was in the 3rd grade, he was wrongly accused and took the blame, so he was expelled from school and his wand was broken. Lu Sen had wanted to make him a wand for a long time, but Hagrid was afraid of implicating him and had never agreed if he was discovered by the Ministry of Magic, he would be convicted. Hermione stared at the pumpkin and found some clues. She said excitedly, "I guess it's the expansion spell? The effect is really good." Lu Sen picked some fresh vegetables and found some ingredients in the kitchen, and made a few side dishes for everyone. In addition to stewed chicken with potatoes, I also made scrambled eggs with tomatoes and 3 fresh vegetables. I also found a pumpkin that was underweight and made a dish of roasted pumpkin with butter. At first Malfoy was reluctant to say that he was not hungry, but after smelling the fragrance, everyone heard the sound of him swallowing. Lu Sen saw his arrogant character and pulled him over. Malfoy sat at the table reluctantly, and he ate the most among the little wizards present. After Malfoy had eaten and drunk his fill and regained his strength, he returned to the castle alone. When he left, he had a complicated expression on his face and no longer had the arrogance he had had before. Because of their conflict in the morning, Ginny did not experience the feeling of speeding on the field, so they returned to the Quidditch field. It is lunchtime for the little wizards and the court is empty. Harry went to the broom shed and got out the Weasley twins' brooms and his own Nimbus 2000. Then he and Ron played happily with Ginny on the Quidditch field, while Lu Sen and Hermione stayed in the stands. Hermione took out a book called Wandering with Werewolves and started reading it, but when she thought about Lockhart's performance in class and what she had seen in the past few days, she couldn't help but waver and her interest in reading was greatly reduced. She turned around and saw Lu Sen concentrating on writing and drawing in a notebook. There were words and some simple diagrams on the book. It didn't look like the guns or props that Lu Sen usually studied, but more like a kind of card. Lu Sen felt the other person's gaze and said without raising his head, "I am designing a wizard card, but I need to arrange a lot of characters in the setting." His eyes lit up as he spread out the notebook to Hermione and introduced it to her. "The cards I want to design require the organization and adaptation of many historical figures. If you are free, can you help me research them? If this game is released, I will give you a commission. Just like the props that the Weasley twins helped me make, what do you think?" Hermione's parents are both dentists, which is a high-income profession in the UK, so her family is quite well off. In terms of living conditions, they are even more comfortable than most wizard families. But in the wizarding world, Hermione is alone. Her parents do have some savings, but it is impossible for her to exchange all of her parents' savings into gold galleons in order to increase her own wealth. So if there was an opportunity to make money, Hermione would certainly not refuse it, so Lu Sen explained in detail the rules of the card game and what she needed to do. "So, this involves a lot of wizards from history, and also some of the wizards who are still alive." "Yes, such as Dumbledore, Mad-Eye Moody, etc. You need to write down their famous achievements, introductions, catchphrases, etc. You also need to adapt some resounding skills according to each person's characteristics. Then you need to evaluate their combat effectiveness, health points, attributes, etc." Hermione listened very carefully, took out a notebook and took careful notes, and soon she had some clues. Lu Sen thought happily, "Why didn't I think of Hermione before? She is very good at flipping through books and sorting out information." In this way, the magic version of Gwent is just around the corner. Chapter 122. After Lu Sen finished assigning the tasks, Hermione became the one who did the writing and drawing, so Boss Lu was happy to have some free time and started watching Ginny play. It was not until a team walked onto the field for training that Ginny and the other two flew down from the air. They recognized each other as the Hufflepuff team, as their old acquaintance Cedric was among them. After chatting with Cedric for a few words, Lu Sen and others left the Quidditch field together. As they were entering the castle chatting and laughing, Professor McGonagall suddenly stopped Harry and Ron and told them that their detention would begin in the evening. Ron asked nervously, "Professor, what are we going to do?" "Go help Mr. Filch clean the medals in the trophy room." Professor McGonagall emphasized, "No magic allowed. You have to wipe them with your hands the whole time." Ron gasped. There were thousands of medals and trophies in the trophy display room. Who knows how long it would take to clean them with his hands? And Filch was in charge of that place, and he was hated by all the students. If it was Lu Sen who went there, maybe Filch would help him clean it, but if it was someone else, it would be hard to say. "Maybe he'll follow you the whole time with his cat in his arms, nitpicking and taunting you in a scary tone." Harry swallowed hard. Ron's punishment was bad enough, he didn't know what he would face. Professor McGonagall turned around and said, "Potter, go help Professor Lockhart write back to his admirers. Harry pleaded with a bitter face, Professor, I don't want to write any reply to Lockhart. Can I also clean the trophy display room? I'm afraid not. Professor Lockhart specifically requested you. Professor McGonagall shook her head, well, you two will start promptly at 8 o'clock this evening. Lu Sen patted his two dejected roommates and consoled them, don't worry, it will eventually pass. Isn't it just a matter of wiping and writing? It's very simple. Ginny was laughing on the side. When she saw them looking over, she said as a matter of course, who told you to drive the car away without permission? You also crashed the Whomping Willow and almost lost your life. When Lu Sen returned to the common room, he saw Neville reading a book on a sofa, but it was obvious that his mind was not on the book. Instead, he frowned, and no one knew what he was thinking about. Lu Sen raised his hand and waved it in front of his eyes. Neville suddenly woke up as if from a dream and dropped the book on the ground in fright. After seeing that it was Lu Sen, he breathed a sigh of relief, and quickly lowered his head to pick up his beloved 1,000 magical herbs and ferns, and patted the dust off it. You scared me, you are finally back. Lu Sen asked curiously, what's wrong? Why don't you go back to the dormitory? If you are bored, why don't you come and play with us? Neville, I went to the greenhouse to help Professor Sprout in the morning. Then I didn't wait for you, so I went back to the dormitory. But... At this point, Neville looked at Lu Sen with a frightened expression, I think there are unclean things in the dormitory. Lu Sen chuckled, are you talking about ghosts? There are ghosts everywhere in our school. I've even chopped them off before. What's there to be afraid of? Neville shook his head and said seriously, I was taking a nap when I heard someone calling my name. I thought you were back or playing a joke on me. The voice came from inside your door. Lu Sen frowned when he heard this. He seemed to have a bad premonition. Sure enough, Neville said the next sentence, I walked in and found that the sound came from a diary in the cabinet. According to Neville's description, the voice seemed full of temptation, bewitching him to open his notebook. If Neville hadn't built up a strong will through nearly a year of morning exercises, running and boxing every day, he might have really been fooled by the diary. Lu Sen felt a little scared when he thought about it. During this period, he would write a few math problems in his diary every night or talk to it about ideological education issues. The helpless look on his face as he looked at the diary every day made him subconsciously ignore the horror of the diary. Thinking this way, it seems that suppressing the diary all the time is not a long-term solution. If you want to reform its thinking, it seems that you have to proceed step by step. How about talking to him about the dark arts? But I only know a little about the dark arts. Just when Lu Sen was thinking about countermeasures, his mobile phone sent a message reminder. When he opened it, he saw that it was Malfoy, who was newly added at noon. After clicking on the message, Lu Sen was surprised to find that it was the book list he had been waiting for a long time. There were over 30 names of magic books written in it, some of which were obviously not serious books, while others had no idea what they were about. How could he choose? Hey, I just happen to have a master of black magic here, isn't this a coincidence? Ha 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 ha. Opening the diary, Lu Sen picked up the pen and wrote, Tang. Crossed out, the King of Heaven and the Tiger of Earth. The diary was silent for a few seconds. Did you almost write it wrong just now? Did you forget the secret code? Ha ha ha, the pagoda suppresses the river monster. By the way, I have solved the problem you left for me yesterday. It's a little difficult, but it's not difficult for me. Lu Sen, haha, those are just random questions. We won't ask any questions today. I wonder if I can ask you something else. Diary, okay, we are good friends who can talk about anything. Just ask whatever you want to ask. Lu Sen thought, what good friends. Whoever believes you will be in trouble. After complaining in his heart, Lu Sen continued to write, I want to consult you about something special, but I don't know who to ask. The diary quickly wrote, please feel free to ask me anything. I had very good grades when I was in school. Or if you have any questions about making friends, you can also consult me. Lu Sen, well, I felt that the content in the textbooks was too conservative, so I quietly went to the banned books section. I wonder if you know anything about that place? The diary was ecstatic. I am familiar with this thing. It quickly replied, I think the books in the forbidden area can also be read, because knowledge is not divided into good and bad. I wonder what you want to know? I just read some books in the forbidden area. Do you need me to recommend a few? Lu Sen wrote the names of the books on the list half-truthfully in his diary and asked Tom to identify them. It turned out that Tom knew them all by heart. There were indeed some good things in the list of books provided by Malfoy, but there were also some very ordinary books mixed in, which Tom considered to be rubbish and there was no need to read them. Lu Sen explained that some books Tom had never seen might have been put there in recent decades, and he successfully got away with it. Even if it is a book Tom has never read, once the author's name is mentioned, he can compare it to some great figures in history and guess whether it is worth reading. Lu Sen successfully selected the list of books and also stabilized the diary. He was in a good mood immediately. He did not give the diary any homework, but promised to exchange his thoughts with him after reading several black magic books recommended by him. Chapter 123. It was past 10 o'clock in the evening when Harry and Ron, who had been in detention, returned to the dormitory exhausted. Ron said he was about to vomit from wiping the medals and trophies in the trophy display room, and Harry said with envy that he would rather clean them than go back to Professor Lockhart. He spent 4 hours writing a reply letter that night. Now he is more proficient in signing Lockhart's name than his own. Hearing this, Lu Sen's eyes lit up. Should he let Harry sign a note for the restricted area? He had practiced his signature to perfection, so there was no need to waste it. So Lu Sen quickly took out a pen and paper and asked Harry to imitate Lockhart's handwriting and write a special note. Lu Sen is hereby approved to enter the restricted area to consult information, Professor Gilderoy Lockhart. Looking at the note with flying dragons and little hearts on it, Lu Sen smiled with satisfaction. If this thing wasn't from Lockhart himself, there was no way to tell its authenticity. Harry was a little worried. Lu Sen, this is not good, right? What if the professor finds out? Haha. Don't worry, I'll go now. Harry, going there in the middle of the night? What kind of approval do you need? Lu Sen did what he said. He slapped the invisibility talisman on himself and sneaked into the library. After arriving at the Forbidden Book area, Lu Sen spent some time finding the must-read in the Forbidden Book area books recommended by the diary. After looking through it, he found that there were indeed some things, such as curses, blood sacrifices, selling souls and so on. On the surface, it seems that one can quickly improve one's strength, but if one is exposed to these things without any foundation, Lu Sen can be completely sure that the diary has no good intentions. In the next few days, Lu Sen received books sent by Malfoy one after another, which allowed him to be exposed to more forbidden knowledge that ordinary people could not see. Lu Sen mainly used it for reference and learning, which felt like looking for lotus roots in the mud and grabbing inspiration from the chaos. He did not get too caught up in it. On the one hand, he used black magic as a topic to bring the diary closer to him, and on the other hand, he instilled a new worldview into the diary in both overt and covered ways. Lu Sen, this imperious curse is great, Tom. It's much better than love potions. But I prefer to win a person's heart with wisdom and personal charm. Otherwise, it's all in vain and you'll be betrayed sooner or later. Diary, yes. This was just rubbing salt into Tom's wounds. Tom's mother, Merope, is a pure-blooded wizard. Her full name is Merope Marvolo Gaunt Slytherin. She has the blood of Salazar Slytherin, but she fell in love with a muggle, Tom Riddle. She used a love potion to seduce Tom and eloped with him. After she became pregnant, she stopped using the love potion and confessed her identity as a witch out of love for Tom. As a result, she was soon ruthlessly abandoned by Tom. Merope was so disheartened that her magic power declined, and she became homeless and had to live on the streets. With no other options left, Merope sold her priceless ancestral locket, but only got a mere 10 gold galleons. In the end, she died after giving birth to a child in the orphanage. Little Tom's childhood was dark. Lu Sen, Tom, what are you thinking about? Let's continue talking. The Cruciatus curse requires a perverted mind. The more vicious the imagined punishment is, the higher the damage, right? What if we change the direction? Can we improve it to convey other emotions? For example, give people a sense of happiness, a sense of satisfaction, a sense of fullness, etc. Do you know? Fear can only bring temporary submission, but happiness can make people actively pass it on. It is like in the old days, when landlords fenced off land and whipped slaves to make them work. They could indeed gain free labor, but they would inevitably become passive and lazy, and rebellion was only a matter of time. But it's different in a more advanced way, and what the Muggle ruling class is doing now is very interesting. They use beautiful houses, luxury cars, and luxurious materials as bait. If you have no money but want to enjoy, they will provide usury to the lower class muggles. With loans, they can tie the lower class firmly. The people below are now working very hard, and then they will take the initiative to hand over the money they earn to the rulers. You see, this is called professionalism. Tom, do you know? In another decade or so, low-level muggles will even take the initiative to work 10. They are really top-notch cattle and horses. Some self-righteous dark wizards even want to kill them, and then wave the whip and personally command them. Isn't this a hole in their brains? Diary, work on your own initiative? 996. Damn, Germany and France, or muggles are so cruel. Lu Sen, the universe is so vast. Some fools think that ruling a small country by violence is the pinnacle of life. Tom, do you think they are just looking at the world from a narrow perspective? Diary, well, yes. Lu Sen, muggles' nuclear weapons can destroy a city in an instant. Do wizards have such things? Missiles can easily destroy targets thousands of kilometers away, and can even leave the entire Earth barren. Wizards are far from having such destructive power. The end result of a war with muggles is that no one will survive. So I think wizards should learn technology well, and use magic to make the world more convenient and advanced in the future. Let muggles work willingly. Finally, the Earth will enter interstellar civilization. The person who leads mankind out of the magic and technological civilization will surely become a figure that goes down in history. He will be praised forever by the world. This is the pinnacle of life. Lu Sen would fill the diary with conversations like these every day, and how much the other person could understand depended on his or her comprehension. However, if the diary makes any more small moves, Lu Sen doesn't mind letting him experience the warmth of the thunder flame lightning sword. Ever since Neville heard the call from the diary, Lu Sen had pasted a talisman to suppress evil on the diary, and the evil thoughts inside were sealed tightly. Not a single bit would leak out. On the other hand, the campus forum has been slightly upgraded to allow for the import of larger and clearer images. This has made the forum even more popular. It just so happens that Colin, Harry's mysterious little brother who hangs around him every day, loves taking pictures all day long. Lu Sen simply asked Harry to assign him tasks, which would not only add material to the forum but also reduce the frequency of him bothering Harry. Moreover, Colin's family is average, and the commission from photography can help him work and study, which is a good thing for Colin. It is really killing two birds with one stone. It was the weekend again, and Lu Sen brought the little girl to the Forbidden Forest. He wanted to give her a surprise. Lu Sen first entered the Forbidden Forest alone, and soon brought the unicorn out. Ginny's eyes sparkled and she exclaimed excitedly. Which girl wouldn't like such a beautiful and elegant magical animal as a unicorn? This is Shiro, the unicorn that lives in the Forbidden Forest. Ziobai, this is the Ginny I told you about. Ziobai, wei er. Puff. Ginny? Lu Sen, ahem. Ziobai, stop talking nonsense. What do you, a single unicorn, know? Ginny? With Lu Sen's help, Ginny rode on the back of a unicorn and experienced the treatment of a princess in a fairy tale. During the process, Lu Sen took a lot of beautiful photos of her, which he could share in the group when he got back. The Hogwarts research team has solved the problem of sending pictures via mobile phones. It is still in the testing stage, but it has been used on a small scale. During his communication with the diary, Lu Sen learned a lot of interesting knowledge, and recently he is preparing to upgrade the magic artificial intelligence Xiao Li. Chapter 124. With the addition of Miss Swiba, Lu Sen's research team quickly gave birth to a new card game Gwent. This is a type of playing card that Lu Sen of later generations particularly liked. It's not difficult to play, and the main thing is that you can have fun collecting cards. Hermione used her spare time to look up a lot of information and included many legendary figures, historical figures, and famous modern wizards, as well as magical creatures and camps with the characteristics of this world. The Weasley twins and Cedric are responsible for the technology, while the design of the core gameplay and sales planning are handed over to Lu Sen. Gwent was promoted by bundling it with the Quibbler. The basic cards were randomly given away in magazines. After buying a few magazines, you can start a card game with the cards you get. Friends can exchange cards and win cards from each other. It is very interesting and collectible. If you want more new cards, you have to keep buying the Quibbler. At the same time, the magazine also has columns introducing how to play the cards and new cards, so that the repurchase rate continues to grow. For those who are not short of money, a deluxe edition card subscription service is also available, which is more luxurious and has a wider range of products than the regular edition of the magazine. In terms of price, it is equivalent to directly subscribing to the Quibbler for 5 years. Isn't this more conscientious than a certain team? Clearly marked prices, no deception. On the other side, Lu Sen took the magic server back from Ginny. He learned some magic from the diary and could directly extract the contents of an entire book and copy it in. This will undoubtedly greatly enhance Xylee's learning progress and provide technical support for accelerating the construction of the Internet of Things. Little Fox has been trained by Ginny for more than half a year. Now he has the IQ of at least 6 years old and can have simple conversations with people. Xylee is different from the moving characters in the photos. She was created from nothing and learned and grew step by step. Both the potential and the ability to process information have unlimited potential. Moreover, she was specially created to access the magic internet and is naturally compatible with the Galaxy Group's communication products. Lu Sen placed Xylee on the table, chanted a spell, and extracted the contents of a book called A History of Hogwarts. A huge amount of text floated out of the book like thousands of flying insects, and under the guidance of the magic wand, gathered towards Xylee. After a moment, the text completely entered Xylee's body. How does it feel? Lu Sen asked puzzledly. Xiao Li said in a voice as soft and cute as Ginny's, "It's good. I learned a lot of knowledge all of a sudden. But I feel a little tired. I can't explain it. It seems that my mind can't turn around, and I feel empty." Lu Sen pondered for a moment, then asked uncertainly, "You didn't mean hungry, did you?" Xylee, hey? Really? So this is what it feels like to be hungry. Lu Sen picked up Xylee and subconsciously looked around the charging port. He scratched his head, thinking that Xylee must have learned too many things at once and was unable to handle them, resulting in insufficient magic power. After thinking for a while, Lu Sen injected a stream of magic power into Xiao Li. Soon, the magic power enveloped Xiao Li and was then absorbed by the transparent gem embedded in it. "Yeah, I feel it. If you keep feeding me this, it should fill my stomach, but it tastes just average." "Hey? You're still picky about food. How can magic be any different?" As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Sen suddenly thought that magic power could really be different. So he tentatively mobilized a trace of red magic absorbed from the Philosopher's Stone. According to Nicholas Flamel, this magic power comes from the Philosopher's Stone communicating with another dimension. It is a magical yet dangerous energy. When a trace of red magic was sent to Xylee, the little guy suddenly became alert and said aloud, "This red one smells so good. Give it to me now." Seeing that Xylee was very eager, Lu Sen felt relieved and injected a bit of magic power into it. A magical scene happened. After the red magic power entered the transparent gem, it was not digested and absorbed by the little fox, but flowed inside the gem like water mist. The little fox immediately made a sound of enjoyment, as if it had eaten a delicious snack. Seeing that Xylee was safe and sound and looked unsatisfied, Lu Sen mobilized more red magic power and slowly injected it into him. Xylee's eating speed is amazing. Lu Sen later changed it to the speed of pouring food, but the other party was still able to eat it all. If the magic power Lu Sen called upon this time is used to turn stone into gold, it is estimated that it can convert 5 portions of gold obtained by the Weasley family. But the little fox had just been fed. He looked at the well-fed little raccoon with concern, and was shocked to find that the originally transparent gem on the badge had turned red. Just like a small magic stone. Hiss! Could it be that this gem is a replica of the Philosopher's Stone? Otherwise, how could it be exactly the same as the Philosopher's Stone? And how could it be so compatible with red magic? If you look closely, you can see that there are some differences between the two. The Philosopher's Stone feels like a ruby, bright red and transparent, with an even and fine glow inside, and it is solid. As for the little fox, although it also turned bright red after absorbing enough red magic, if you look closely, you will find that the red inside is like mist, flowing slowly, and is in gaseous form. "Xiao Li, how do you feel?" Lu Sen asked worriedly, afraid that the other party would be hurt by him. "Very good. Haha. It's delicious. I feel full of energy. My mind is much clearer. Give me another book." Xylee said happily at a much faster pace than usual, and his tone was no longer the previous stereotype of artificial idiocy, but full of agility, just like Ginny sitting opposite him. Lu Sen looked around the dormitory and saw the book Thousand Magical Herbs and Ferns on Neville's desk. He waved his wand to extract the contents. This magic does not harm the book itself, otherwise Neville would be heartbroken. This time the book has more text and pictures, but the little fox is chewing like a snack, crunch, crunch, gulp, this is delicious. I learned it. God damn, it's delicious. This is knowledge, and it's actually described as eating. What does the mandrake do? Xylee answered fluently in an instant and mastered the knowledge completely. Lu Sen said nothing, trembling with envy. After a wicked laugh, Lu Sen entered the door and took out a history of magic. Extract and inject. Ugh! What is this? It's disgusting. It tastes like candles. Have you ever eaten candles? Why do you say that? Lu Sen asked, trying not to laugh. Humph! Bad Lu Sen. You must have done this on purpose. I'm going to complain. Let my sister Ginny take care of you. Lu Sen suddenly felt a headache, forgetting that these two guys had a special relationship. He quickly picked up a copy of The Origins of Quidditch from Harry's desk, extracted some content and fed it to the little fox. Bud. Delicious, delicious. From then on, Lu Sen had a book gourmet by his side. By feeding her different books every day, he could get different eating sound effects, which was quite interesting. Chapter 125. After the upgrade, Xylee's knowledge reserve soared rapidly under Lu Sen's continuous feeding, and he became adept at processing information. After Lu Sen told his friends the good news, they evaluated Xylee's abilities in all aspects and found that her intelligence had exceeded that of humans, and she was able to think about many extremely complex problems at the same time. So everyone agreed that it was time to move on to the second phase of testing, connecting her to the campus forum. After adding a communication module for Xylee and enabling management permissions, all the information in the forum could be read by her instantly. Within 10 seconds, she discovered the little wizard who was secretly driving in a hidden message conversation in the forum. Then she was banned, warned, and publicly criticized. The twins cheered instantly. They no longer had to review forum information. Moreover, Xylee can automatically reply to the little wizards who leave messages asking for advertising information, accurately introduce product information, analyze personal preferences based on their historical visit records, and recommend more suitable products. Lu Sen was dumbfounded. This is a magical version of big data artificial intelligence. Awesome, Xylee. What surprised Lu Sen was that the red magic power he output that day had clearly exhausted the stock of 1A cup ointment, but when he looked at it the next day, it had automatically recovered. Ah, this can't be used up. It can't be used up at all. What is more convenient is that Xylee does not need to be next to the magic forum board. All calculations and management are done remotely, so Lu Sen can carry it with him. Since Xylee had been fed hundreds of books, including Lu Sen's textbooks, Lu Sen accidentally got a cheat device. Whether it's a question from the teacher or an essay assignment that requires research, Xylee will silently display the answer in just a moment. It's so cool. When Hermione found out about this, she was so angry that she almost reported it to the teacher. Finally, Lu Sen had to solemnly declare to Xylee in front of Hermione that he was not allowed to show the answers in class in the future, let alone help solve problems or do homework. But afterwards, Lu Sen made a cheap deal with Xylee. When Hermione was nearby, the answers would all be displayed in Chinese. For every paper he helped write, Lu Sen would give him a delicious snack, a book that Xylee was interested in. With the in-depth exploration of Xylee's computing power, the research team found that Xylee's current capabilities are fully capable of carrying out more and broader tasks, so they worked with Lupin to produce a multifunctional tablet with networking function. This prototype was almost blank, but with Xylee's link, Muggle Wars, Plants vs. Zombies and all the functions of the mobile phone were instantly written into it. Moreover, with Xylee as the background processor, as long as Lu Sen tells the idea of the new level of Plants vs. Zombies, Xylee can immediately add and realize it. Muggle Wars has a new human-machine mode, and the mobile phone interface has become more exquisite. In short, with the Xylee Super Terminal, many epic-making things have become possible. In this case, the current magic phone needs to be redesigned, at least with a color screen, a camera, and an app. The online payment function must also be considered. Lu Sen consulted Lupin, Mr. Weasley, and many professors about some technical problems, but still lacked some key technical support. During the period of time when they were stuck in technical difficulties, the 4-member team of staff felt extremely uncomfortable. They pondered all day long and worked day and night to search for information and find a breakthrough. If you keep thinking about something, it will surely come true. One day, when Lu Sen was thinking and wandering around the school, he suddenly found himself in a place he had never been to before. The tapestry on the wall instantly caught his attention. A wizard was surrounded by a group of trolls in ballet costumes. The wizard seemed to be teaching the trolls how to dance ballet, but he was hit on the head by the clumsy trolls. Trolls hit stupid Barnabas with a stick. The Room of Requirement. This legendary magical room is located on the 8th floor. Just pass by the wall opposite the tapestry 3 times and think about the room you want in your mind, then a door will appear on the wall and the room inside will exactly meet your requirements. Lu Sen smiled. Isn't this the inspiration? He immediately repeated the room he wanted in his mind 3 times, and after that, a door really appeared on the wall. Pushing the door open, you'll see a huge, vast space filled with mountains of junk. Lu Sen didn't want an inspirational room, but wanted a place to hide things in his heart. This is exactly where he is going. There are several interesting things piled here. Over the centuries, countless young wizards or professors have wanted to hide things, and the vast amount of items in the Room of Requirement was accumulated bit by bit. There were a lot of old items, books, sundries, and all kinds of things inside. Lu Sen quickly found one of them among the garbage. This is a huge mirror with ancient patterns and animal foot-style temples. Hey! Magic mirror! Long time no see! This is Lu Sen's good partner, Eris working magic mirror. The magic mirror was ecstatic when it felt someone approaching. It had been left here for some time and was extremely bored because there was no wizard to fool. But when Lu Sen approached, it was stunned again. That shameless freeloader had come to its door. At this moment, it recalled the joy of being Pua. No, it was fear. Why don't you have any reaction at all? Move yourself. Hurry up. Mirror, please be a human being. Although the mirror thought so in its heart, it immediately acted honestly. The image in the mirror distorted, and all the sundries in Kaiu Being's room turned into mountains of gold, reflecting Lu Sen's face with golden light. Mirror, your thinking is too outdated. Do I need to imagine a golden mountain? I already have it. Let me show you, this is what real golden light looks like. Your rendering of the picture is unprofessional. Under Lu Sen's control, a picture was transmitted to the mirror, and the other party fell silent in an instant. You are not lying to me, are you? Are you bullying me because I am a mirror? Whose house is full of gold bricks? Lu Sen interacted with the mirror for a while. I'll take you out to play later. I have a scientific research project that requires your cooperation. I'll find something first and I'll be back soon. After saying that, Lu Sen began to search in the sea of debris again. After a while, he found a quaint cabinet among a pile of tables, chairs, and benches. The dust on it was not too thick, as if it had just been moved in not long ago. This cabinet was originally a pair. I don't know who made it. The magic inside is very interesting and worth studying. If you put something in a cabinet, it will be automatically transferred to another cabinet soon. In the original book, the Death Eaters sneaked into the heavily guarded Hogwarts through it. It is the Vanishing Cabinet. Chapter 126. At Lu Sen's suggestion, someone was sent to buy another matching Vanishing Cabinet, which was originally from Borgin and Burke's magic shop in Nocturne Alley. Voldemort worked for Borgin and Burke after graduation, so he was familiar with this thing, and later ordered Malfoy to repair this cabinet in the Room of Requirement. On the day of buying the book, Harry accidentally entered the Borgin blog shop without using the Fleur fan. At that time, Lu Sen thought of this thing and asked Lupin to send someone to buy it. The space transfer magic inside was very useful, so he took it away this time. Lu Sen wandered around for a long time but couldn't find any trace of the third thing he wanted to find. The main reason was that this place was too big and Lu Sen couldn't remember the exact location. Tired of walking, Lu Sen simply took out his magic wand and shouted, "Crown, fly over here!" Magic lightning chains flew out in all directions, and a few seconds later, there were several sounds of falling objects in the distance, and then more than a dozen crowns of various shapes flew in front of him. Lu Sen didn't even look at it, because the real thing would not be summoned by the flying spell. The things that can be summoned are usually not of high quality. He waved the thunder wand again, raised his hand and cast a transfiguration chain lightning at the pile of books. A few seconds later, a group of owls with a scent of books on their bodies lined up neatly and saluted Lu Sen. Lu Sen also raised his right hand solemnly and returned a standard Chinese military salute. Then he ordered, "Target, the crown. In addition to this pile, search every corner. The target may also be in the square box, search carefully. Start the action." At the command, the bookish owl reconnaissance brigade took off and began searching for targets in the sea of debris. In a moment, one of the owls flew back holding a silver-white crown. Ravenclaw's diadem. Not bad. Thank you for your hard work, comrades. After a snap of fingers, the owl brigade completed their mission and turned back into books, stacking them neatly aside. Lu Sen held the crown in his hand and looked at it carefully. It was silver-white in color, and the overall shape was an eagle with spread wings. There were many sparkling diamonds on the wings, and an aqua blue gem was inlaid in the middle. On the bottom edge of the crown is engraved a motto, "Wisdom is the greatest wealth of mankind." This thing is a relic of Rowena Ravenclaw, one of the founders of Hogwarts, and has the effect of increasing the wisdom of the wearer. However, Lu Sen doesn't dare to wear it now, because he happens to know the secret. Rowena is a great wizard with extraordinary wisdom, but her daughter Helena is a rebellious idiot with a hole in her brain. She lived the life of a top-rich second generation, but she stole her mother's crown to try to gain wisdom, and she also defected from Hogwarts and hid in the forest of Albania. Later, Rowena became ill due to missing her daughter and was bedridden, so she asked Barrow, who loved her daughter, to persuade her. However, the stubborn Barrow found Helena and had an argument with her, and accidentally killed her. Barrow blamed himself and chose to commit suicide. Many years later, the two returned to Hogwarts as ghosts, one using the alias Ms. Grey and the other the notorious Bloody Baron. Rowena died without ever seeing her daughter, and the world gradually forgot about the crown. It was not until later that Voldemort found a clue while at school. He used his beauty to trick the foolish Ms. Grey into revealing the whereabouts of the crown, and found it in a tree hole in Albania. In the end, the crown was made into a Horcrux and hidden in the room of requirement when Voldemort applied for the position of defense against the dark arts professor for the second time. Therefore, the tiara contains fragments of Voldemort's soul, and perhaps some powerful dark magic. Anyone who dares to wear it directly on his head will be silent. Hang up. Without saying anything, Lu Sen pasted sealing talismans all over it, and then skillfully put it into his backpack. Since I'm here, this thing is destined to be with me, so I'll accept it with reluctance. After getting what he wanted, Lu Sen left the room of requirement contentedly and started the next step of research. The small scientific research team analyzed the principles of the magic mirror, and with the cooperation of the mirror, several people worked hard for a month and finally got the technology they wanted. The smart magic phone made based on some of the principles of the magic mirror is more like the mobile phones of later generations, but the screen looks like a mirror when it is not displaying images, and presents a clear, three-dimensional image when it is displaying images. The camera is a pair of mini magic eyes. Although it is small, its pixel is quite high. The photos taken are vivid and 3D. This is much more convenient than the current magic camera. In the future, Lu Sen also plans to optimize the camera function and launch a camera phone to sell specifically to photography enthusiasts or newspapers and publishing houses. With the new mobile phone platform and Xiaoli's support, Lu Sen believes that it won't be long before surfing the internet, video chatting, playing online games, etc. will be realized one by one. Another disappearing cabinet with research value was also taken out. Lu Sen wanted to study the principle of space conversion to see if he could realize a rapid delivery system. Currently, there are two main ways of remote shopping in the wizarding world. One is to write a letter directly to place an order. After the merchant receives the purchase list, he sends an owl to deliver the goods, and the owl brings back the payment. The other way is to write a letter to sign an agency agreement. The merchant takes the agreement to Gringotts to ask for money, and then ships the goods according to the address. However, Lu Sen's idea is to set up an express collection point based on the principle of the disappearing cabinet. Buyers place orders online, put money into the cabinet at the express point, and then after a few seconds, the cabinet will transfer your goods. This is the ideal way for a wizard to shop. It's so beautiful just to think about it. However, after opening the container, Lu Sen and his companions were dumbfounded. They had never seen the runes and the way the magic power inside worked before. That's impossible. If Malfoy can fix it himself, we can do it too. After making up his mind, Lu Sen began to look for information. However, it was impossible for Lu Sen to turn the pages of the book one by one, so he directly imported the contents of the relevant books into Xyli. The work efficiency of artificial intelligence is naturally countless times higher than traditional methods. After importing a large amount of data, a method of repair was finally found. With the reference of a complete pair of disappearing cabinets, the research team and Lupin carried out simultaneous research and development on both sides. It took them half a month to understand the principles of space transformation magic, and on this basis they created an upgraded version, the Galaxy Express cabinet. The first set of Galaxy Express lockers had 10 compartments in a row, and looked similar to the Express Collection lockers of later generations. After being approved by the principal, they were placed in the atrium corridor of the castle. If the little wizards want to buy something, they just need to leave a message on the magazine or mobile phone to place an order, and then put the money into the designated container according to the prompts. Just wait for 10 seconds on the spot, and Galaxy Company will pack the goods there and deliver them instantly through the matching express cabinets. The cabinet door is closed and opened, and the goods have arrived. The whole process is so easy and quick. The Daily Prophet and other major newspapers reported the incident and praised the Galaxy Express locker highly. At Lu Sen's suggestion, the Galaxy Group operated secretly and added arguments to the report such as, wizards should keep pace with the times, magical innovation is the primary productive force, the dawn of a new era begins with surpassing muggles. The slumping wizarding world needs new things, and more importantly, needs to pay attention to innovation and changes in the muggle world. Lu Sen believes that with his continuous innovation and guidance, the magic world will surely embark on a new path. Chapter 127. Since the start of the school year, the small scientific research team has been working non-stop. The difficulty of Gwent is not high, but the subsequent groundbreaking products, the smart magic phone and the Galaxy Express locker, were all created by Lu Sen, the Weasley twins and Cedric without sleep and food. The research and development capabilities of several people have been widely praised, and reporters from all sides have invited them for interviews several times, making the four of them a hot topic among wizards after dinner, even overshadowing Professor Gilderoy Lockhart. This guy who values being in the limelight and popularity more than anything else once secretly approached Lu Sen and implicitly asked if he could become their nominal instructor. Lu Sen scoffed at this. What kind of thesis do you think you are writing? Do you want to get the results for free? With Lockhart's level, unless he studies the Oblivion spell. Otherwise, he won't understand a word. What guidance is there? After being rejected, Lockhart did not give up. He hinted to teachers and classmates that his suggestions were behind their success. Lu Sen, who was so angry that he laughed, would not tolerate the other party. He directly blocked Lockhart in the office and made the other party panic with just one sentence. If you don't want your stories of stealing other people's experiences to be published in the newspaper, then just behave yourself from now on. Let's not interfere with each other's business. Okay. After that, Lu Sen stopped attending the defense against the dark arts class. Lockhart's stories were too long. Wouldn't it be better to play Plants vs. Zombies instead? In his spare time, Lu Sen prepared some fun things to reward everyone while there was no research and development tasks at hand. Hagrid's basement is one of the strongholds of several people. Not only is it far away from the castle, but the surrounding walls have been reinforced many times and are engraved with silencing symbols, making it extremely safe. Take a look, take your pick, and enjoy the large portions. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. The twins and Cedric came forward and saw a row of guns on the table. They were all real weapons. Wow! So heavy! Is this what Muggle weapons are like? Cedric picked up an AKM. The twins fought for the largest and heaviest machine gun. I saw it first. I reached out first. Lu Sen quickly separated them. Don't fight over it. We have plenty of ammunition, I guarantee everyone will get some. After saying that, he casted an ear-blocking spell on the three people to prevent their ears from being deafened by the roar of the ammunition. Bang! Bang! This batch of weapons obtained from the Soviet Union began to spit out fire snakes, and countless bullets poured out and hit the gravel model created by magic on the opposite side. In just over 10 minutes, the ground beneath their feet was covered with a layer of yellow bullet shells. When the smoke cleared, the hard-as-rock magic target had been smashed into pieces by the torrent of steel. After removing the ear-blocking spell, they began a heated discussion, comparing the merits of several types of firearms. As they were talking, footsteps were heard on the stairs. When they looked up, they saw that it was Ginny. This is not a place for girls. Now is not the right time to look for Lu Sen. We are doing experiments now. Ginny ignored her twin brother's words, covered her mouth and nose with her hands, and walked to the messy weapons table with disgust. Lu Sen quickly cast a spell to collect the bullet shells scattered all over the ground and made the polluted air fresh and pleasant. These things are very dangerous and heavy. Be careful. When Lu Sen saw Ginny holding up a PPSH submachine gun, he hurriedly held it from below to prevent her from losing control and dropping it on her feet. Sure enough, for the 11-year-old girl, the PPSH with a disc drum was still too heavy. Who says girls can't play with this? And I recognize this thing. It's a weapon used by muggles, right? It's called a gun, right? It's much bigger than my freshly cleaned little pistol. Hehe, you guys shouldn't play with it, right? Several people looked at each other, and none of them knew how to deal with the eccentric Ginny. As she spoke, she chose the largest machine gun. Since it had a tripod, she could fire it without having to hold it up. The more Ginny looked at it, the brighter her eyes became. In desperation, Lu Sen had to teach the other party the precautions of shooting, and then waved his magic wand to reshape the target in the distance. Thinking that it was Ginny who wanted to fight, Lu Sen slightly modified the target and turned it into various kinds of zombies. This action instantly earned the little girl a satisfied smile. A few minutes later, Lu Sen removed the earplugs from everyone's ears and heard the spell, and all the zombies in the field had been cut in half. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Ginny asked with a puzzled look on her face. Several people came back to their senses from their daze, still thinking about Ginny's fierce appearance just now. The twins were very scared. Would Lu Sen be traumatized by his sister's toughness? But Lu Sen doesn't think that there is anything scary about a loli with fierce firepower. Instead, he thinks of images like Hit Girl and Wolverine's daughter. It doesn't matter how fierce the enemy is, there will be a kind of cute contrast. Seeing that Ginny was still unsatisfied, Lu Sen immediately asked his friends to bring a few more boxes of ammunition from the corner of the basement. After restocking the guns with bullets, Lu Sen threw out another lightning chain. This time he made it a little more difficult for everyone, and the zombie targets he created were moving. Just like Plants vs. Zombies. And several people became plants defending their homes. After a round of bang bang, everyone was having a great time. Hagrid felt the dense vibrations coming from underground, and couldn't resist opening the door of the basement out of curiosity. The huge sound instantly made his eardrums hurt. He walked down again only after the men stopped shooting. Knowing that several people were playing with such an interesting toy, Hagrid rubbed his hands immediately. He also wanted to try it. After learning that he was scared away by the loud noise, Lu Sen thought for a moment and slapped his forehead. I'm so stupid. I could have added a silencing magic to the gun. Several people also reacted, and Cedric, a senior, acted the fastest and immediately dealt with the AKM in his hand. The result was very successful. The sound coming out of the gun has changed from firecrackers to that of a toy gun, and the sound is completely within the acceptable range. Hagrid tried it out, but the trigger guard was too small for him. His big finger couldn't get in. But the machine gun worked. When this thing was designed, the possibility that soldiers lying on the ground would need to wear thick gloves to operate it in extremely cold conditions was taken into consideration, so the trigger was designed to be particularly thick, which met Hagrid's requirements. The machine gun that needed to be fixed on a bracket for firing was no problem for Hagrid's big body. He just held it in his hand and didn't feel it was heavy at all. This ratio is similar to Lu Sen and others holding an AK. After explaining the key points of operation and aiming methods, Hagrid couldn't wait to pull the trigger. Da da da, da 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 da. Everyone was stunned. Hagrid's shooting had only one characteristic: steady recoil. It doesn't exist in the face of absolute power and tonnage. If I get a chance to give Hagrid a Gatling gun, wouldn't he be the Terminator of the wizarding world? If gods stand in the way, kill gods. If Buddhas stand in the way, destroy Buddhas. All beings are equal. Namo Gatlin Higer, 6 pure depleted uranium bombs, 3,600 turns in one breath, great compassion and great mercy to save the world. Hiss. This scene. A second of silence for Voldemort. Chapter 128. When Lu Sen encounters academic problems now, he has an additional option, which is to consult Xylee. The massive amount of magic books stored in Xylee's body can be accessed instantly. As long as she is fed, she can answer them fluently, and her speed is comparable to that of some Baidu and Google. Regarding the problem of gun recoil raised by Lu Sen, Xyli recommended the buffering spell. The most common use of this spell is to reduce the impact of falling. If used well, you can even fall off a broom without getting hurt. The protective suit produced by Galaxy Group is blessed with this spell, but Lu Sen didn't expect it to be used in this way. After solving the recoil problem, Lu Sen also planned to study his previous terrible idea, that is a firearm with unlimited bullets. As soon as this idea was proposed, it was unanimously agreed by the research team. If there is anything more enjoyable than clacking, there is only one thing clacking all the time. Infinite clacking. Copying in pairs is an ideal spell, but the problem of seamlessly integrating the newly copied bullets into the ammunition supply system must be solved. Moreover, automatic rifles, submachine guns, and machine guns have a firing rate of 5 to 6 rounds per minute, so duplicating them in pairs for high-frequency use becomes a technical challenge. When it came time for the actual test, they were dismayed to find that the bullets copied from the double spells did not meet the requirements in terms of shell strength and gunpowder that provided the explosive power. Either they exploded halfway, or the bullets fell limply halfway, or there was a slight deviation in the size of the copied bullets, causing them to jam. The endless problems caused the research to reach a bottleneck. It is difficult to achieve unlimited bullets for real guns, but the field of toy gun modification with mature technology has ushered in a breakthrough. The bullets of toy guns are not very hard. In fact, the soft bullets only serve to carry magic power, which can be easily copied quickly by magic. As the saying goes, you may not grow flowers if you try, but you may grow willows if you plant them accidentally. The first magic gun with infinite bullets was successfully built thanks to the unremitting efforts of several people. The appearance is still the plastic AK-47 that everyone likes most, but the magazine is slightly larger and thicker, and it has been changed to a transparent color to facilitate observation of the internal operation. The unlimited ammunition function poses new challenges to the reserve of magic power, so this time a magic power input terminal is added to the handle. After turning on the unlimited ammunition supply, the magic power in the magazine will soon be stretched thin. At this time, the user himself becomes a battery, directly providing magic power to the firearm. After actual testing, the effect fully met expectations. However, after playing with real guns, the members of the research team could not forget the heavy feel, the rhythmic recoil and the pleasant sound of the bullet leaving the gun. So several people started reverse optimization. No recoil, add. No sound effects, add. No feel from plastic? The twins and Cedric were at a loss. The transfiguration spell can change the material in a short period of time, but the runes engraved inside will be disturbed. Lu Sen originally planned to use the red magic power in his body to convert plastic into metal, but he found that the magic power in the Philosopher's Stone was not omnipotent. It could turn any metal into gold, but it could not turn non-metal into metal. After much thought, Lu Sen decided to solve the problem from the source. If he wanted a metal feel, he could make a toy gun with a metal shell. If a problem can be solved with money, then it is not a problem. If you can't find a manufacturer that can produce metal soft bullet guns, then buy a Muggle factory and let them make it. It's just a matter of a few gold bricks. Money talks, and that's true. He didn't even worry about it, and just transferred the money to Disley's company, letting Disley set up a toy branch. Although Harry's uncle is fat and sarcastic and mean to Harry, he has been an executive at Graining Company for more than 10 years and has some connections and efficiency. There must be a brave man under a large sum of money. Within half a month, Disley had deployed personnel and equipment and made a toy gun that met the requirements using aluminum alloy. It's easy to deal with a toy gun with a metal shell. If you like the weight, just use it directly. If it feels too light, Lu Sen can use red magic to convert it into any metal. Stainless steel, brass, pure titanium, and even pure gold are all a piece of cake. The sturdy shell can carry more magic runes, and the infinite bullet magic gun modified by the scientific research team has become more and more perfect. The magic gun's temporary success brought sweet rewards to Lu Sen and his companions, especially Lu Sen, whose fear of insufficient firepower was mostly cured. While innovative technologies are making progress, traditional hobbies cannot be abandoned. Lu Sen's wand inventory was destroyed by Voldemort at the end of last semester. Although the inventory had been partially replenished when he was at Ron's house, a conversation with Master Ollivander before school started gave Lu Sen a new understanding of the business of wand making. So Lu Sen put down his gun and started tinkering with magic wands. After making hundreds of them, he finally found the feeling and made some progress in the making technique. By the way, Ron and Neville's wands were upgraded and their stability and feel were fine-tuned. Lu Sen is still not satisfied with Ron's current wand, which is made of the Whomping Willow and Unicorn Tail hair. It would be best to find an opportunity to take him to the Forbidden Forest and get some materials from the eight-eyed giant spider. As he was doing this, Lu Sen was suddenly stunned when he saw the boxes and bundles of magic wands at his feet. Why can't magic wands have infinite bullets? He made so many wands, firstly to practice the wand-making technique, and secondly to stockpile them as a trump card. But his inherent thinking made him only think that the gun had unlimited bullets, but he ignored the possibility of the magic wand having unlimited bullets. The biggest problem with real guns with unlimited ammunition is that the size of the copied bullets is biased, the strength is difficult to guarantee, and the explosives are unstable, but this is not a problem at all with a magic wand. So Lu Sen started to design the infinite magic wand device. The style of the magic wand is still the traditional chopstick shape, round in front and square in the back, thin in front and thick in the back. In order to be able to mobilize the magic wand more quickly, Lu Sen designed a small rectangular box with a lid that can be opened and closed easily. Anyway, Lu Sen has too much magic power to use up, so 10 sets of duplicates are directly carved inside to ensure a full burst speed. When you encounter a strong enemy, smash the box to the ground and the magic wands will swarm out like they are free. Just thinking about the scene when that happens is so beautiful. Lu Sen suddenly thought of Yan Shixia's unique skill in a Chinese ghost story, the infinite universe borrows the power of heaven and earth. The sword turns into thousands. No matter what kind of monsters and demons you are, countless flying swords will let you know what the light of righteousness is. Unlike modified guns that fire magic and traditional gunpowder firearms, the power of a magic wand's self-detonation is much greater. If the enemy has a targeted defense against magic attacks, it is very likely that the magic bullet will be blocked. The same is true for bullets from ordinary firearms. However, when the magic wand explodes, it carries with it a chaotic flow of magical power, and each explosion is random. The magical properties that erupt are chaotic and violent, and the destructive power is quite astonishing. After making this killer weapon, Lu Sen couldn't help but feel a little regretful. He had no chance this semester because his diary was under his control. There was no chance for the basilisk to appear. As luck would have it, whatever he muttered about came true. When Lu Sen returned to the dormitory at night, he was shocked to find his diary was gone. Chapter 129. It was the weekend, and Lu Sen was in a good mood after making the tactical wand box. He went to the school with Ginny to stroll around and relax. However, when he returned to the dormitory, he found that something had happened. Ever since Neville heard the diary's call, Lu Sen has stepped up his defenses. Not only was a sealing talisman pasted on the diary, but a special combination lock that could prevent unlocking spells was also added to the door. When Lu Sen returned to his dormitory, he saw that his door was open. He felt something was wrong. He looked inside and found that everything else was there, but his diary was gone. After a careful inspection, he found that his usual experimental record book was also missing. TNNT. I sealed the diary. How could it escape? At this time, Lu Sen thought of something and ran to the bookshelf and pulled out an inconspicuous thick book. After making a gesture with his fingers, he carefully opened the book. The inside had been hollowed out to hide a small paper ball. Seeing that the small paper ball was still trembling inside, Lu Sen closed the book again. Luckily this thing wasn't lost. This ball of paper is the fragment of Voldemort that Lu Sen cut off last semester. If it wasn't the fragments that were causing the trouble, then how did the diary get away? Lu Sen was puzzled. However, thinking of the possible consequences of the diary, he still sent a message to Dumbledore. Lao Deng's cell phone was given to him by Lu Sen, and it was the latest model that had not yet been released on the market. Professor, I have a bad feeling. Something evil has sneaked into the school, and it may be related to the secret room. Please pay attention. Okay, I got it. If there are any new predictions or discoveries, please let me know as soon as possible. After hanging up his phone, Lu Sen's face darkened. I just go to school leisurely and do scientific research happily, why do people always want to cause trouble for me? After his roommates came back, Lu Sen told everyone that a thief had entered the dormitory, and asked a few people to help keep an eye out for the abnormal behavior of the little wizards. A few days later, the information was summarized to him. Neville, Seamus Finnegan blew up the cauldron. Lu Sen, this is normal. After all, I am a genius at explosions. Ron, Malfoy has a girlfriend named Pansy Parkinson, who's a super annoying person. Lu Sen, ah. That's normal, birds of a feather flock together. Harry, I didn't notice anything. Has Colin Creevey not been pestering me to take pictures these past 2 days? Several people laughed out loud, indicating that this was a good thing. Lu Sen is certain that the diary will cause trouble sooner or later. The enemy is in the open and we are in the dark, so we have to mobilize the power of the masses and make everyone more vigilant. So he posted several articles on campus forums about preventing black magic items, such as shock. The danger is right next to me, an inventory of the dangers of black magic props, especially the third one, is it the distortion of human nature or the decline of morality? These things disguised around us are so deadly, it's impossible to guard against them. Have you ever seen such a thing around you? For the next period of time, the diary remained motionless and did not reveal any clues, which made Lu Sen feel helpless. So Lu Sen secretly prepared countermeasures, and his life returned to what it was before. The smart magic phone released by the Galaxy Group is in short supply, and Lupin has begun to expand the production scale and sell it to other countries. Functions such as video calls, taking photos, sharing on moments, online shopping, and reading news and books online were all brought into this era by Lu Sen in advance. The perfect functions and convenient internet have opened the door to a new world for wizards. The news section was once again dominated by those who were the first to move in, with mainstream media such as the Daily Prophet and Daily Wizard initially holding on to the old idea of continuing to sell traditional newspapers. They firmly resisted online news platforms, not only refusing to move in, but also openly slandering the Galactic Group. But they were soon defeated. More and more wizards owned smartphones and tablets, and read other people's news and information for free on the internet. The sales of traditional newspapers began to decline sharply. Several newspapers reluctantly proposed to join the internet at this time, but unfortunately there is no free lunch in the world. Those who joined early are already receiving dividends, and those who joined later can only exchange them for shares. The Daily Prophet was the first to object, saying that they were a century-old brand and would never give in. They took the lead in opposing internet news. The Galaxy Group immediately formed its own media department, and later launched the Galaxy Express column, which releases news videos in real time on mobile phones in the morning, noon, and evening. This wave of dimensionality reduction attack directly stunned them. Can news be like this? Soon, tabloids merged and acquired, and some bought shares. The Daily Prophet found out that the profits after joining the Galaxy Group were even higher than before. So they just took the bait and exchanged a large number of shares for tickets to the express train of the internet. Xylee received more and more messages. Although she said she was not stressed, Lu Sen was still worried about her condition and safety. After talking to Dumbledore about this, the headmaster said it was no big deal, and then took out a box of transparent gems of various sizes from the warehouse. These are the replicas I made when Flamel and I were studying the Philosopher's Stone. Take them if you can use them. As expected, Lu Sen left the principal's office happily and picked a few, injected red magic into them and transformed them into extensions. With more carriers, Xylee's information processing becomes more comfortable, and the nodes of the internet become more numerous, more dispersed, efficient and secure. The abundant computing power gave Lu Sen more room for maneuver, and the subsequently released Plants vs. Zombies 2 and Muggle Wars, World War I all added networking functions. Not only can you fight remotely, but you can also see the rankings of the entire network. Among them, Muggle Wars, World War I has updated the new background and arms. The addition of weapons such as guns and cannons allows wizards to see the development of weapons in the Muggle world and let them intuitively feel the changes in the world. Now, during breaks, the little wizards would gather in groups of 3 or 5 to discuss new things they had seen on the internet, or to play games in teams. This scene made Lu Sen feel like he had returned to his previous life. When Lu Sen was lost in thought, a thin figure walked in front of him. "Colin? What's wrong? Is your new camera okay?" The person who came over was Colin Creevey, a little fan of Harry. Lu Sen hired him as a photographer for the Hogwarts forum. He also gave him a camera phone 2 days ago so that he could take pictures and upload them directly to the forum. "No. Oh, I mean, it works great. Thank you, Lu Sen. I have something else I want to tell you." Lu Sen couldn't help but feel strange when he saw that he was a little shy. This kid used to be a chatterbox, especially when facing Harry. He was simply a social gangster. Seeing Colin's eyes avoiding and looking at the crowds on both sides, Lu Sen understood what he meant. After taking him to an empty corner, Colin mustered up the courage to say, "I'm sorry." Lu Sen smiled and frowned. "What's wrong, Colin? What happened?" He swallowed, looking a little horrified. "A few weeks ago, I went to give you the photos, and I thought, this is Harry Potter's bedroom. So I took lots of photos, and then..." Lu Sen seemed to understand something, and tried to speak calmly. "Then you heard the call, so you opened the door and took the diary." Colin spoke quickly, like a child who had done something wrong. "I didn't mean to do that. Really. I saw the door was open, so I wanted to go in and take a picture. And then I don't know what happened, my body didn't obey me, and I took 2 notebooks. When I woke up, I was already back in my dorm. I don't remember anything that happened in between. The door is open." Lu Sen was surprised to find the problem. Yes, it was open. I've been wondering if I was dreaming these days until I saw a post about black magic items on the forum." "You weren't researching that kind of thing, were you?" At this point, Colin showed a frightened expression, worried that he might get into trouble. After comforting Colin, Lu Sen fell into deep thought. The person who took the diary was found, but he brought more puzzles. Chapter 130. Since October, the temperature has gradually dropped, and the heavy rain and cold waves that followed have caused many little wizards to catch colds. The refreshing potion made by Madame Pomfrey is very effective, but after taking the potion, white smoke will come out of the ears and will not stop for at least 2 hours. What Harry and his friends talked about most was that Malfoy and his girlfriend both caught a cold. They were both listless and had to support each other when walking. After Malfoy drank the refreshing potion, white smoke came out of his ears like the valve of a pressure cooker. His girlfriend Pansy looked even sicker. After drinking the potion, steam came out of her head as if it was on fire. There was still no news in the diary. Lu Sen knew that the other party would definitely come out, so he secretly prepared while doing scientific research as usual. Recently he has been studying how to use the Cruciatus curse to achieve other effects. The 3 unforgivable curses all have extremely terrible consequences, but it is undeniable that they are all very powerful spells, powerful, effective, and easy to use. Moreover, their upper limits are very high. As long as the caster's heart is evil enough, perverted enough, and the evil thoughts are strong enough, the power they exert will increase exponentially. The 3 unforgivable curses will not leave any traces on the body, so there is reason to guess that they are special magic that acts on the soul. In this case, the principles behind it become interesting and worth studying. Just as he was secretly fascinated by this, a rumor began to spread among the school. "Have you heard? Lu Sen is studying black magic. His house is full of books on the dark arts. He knows all 3 unforgivable curses. And he uses humans as his experiments. He's plotting something terrible in secret." When the news was posted on the campus forum, Xylee discovered it immediately and notified Lu Sen. But he was not panicked at all. "A man of integrity has nothing to fear." Hiss. "Who spread this? I am really lying." Lu Sen was so scared that he ran to the dormitory, but a group of teachers and students arrived at the dormitory door at the same time as him. To everyone's surprise, the leading teacher was actually Snape. "Professor Snape? Why are you in the Gryffindor common room?" Percy asked puzzledly. Snape glanced at the little wizards of Gryffindor with his cold eyes. "We have received an anonymous tip-off that someone is studying extremely evil black magic in the dormitory. For the sake of fairness and rigor, I will be in charge of the search. Any objections?" The young wizards looked at each other in bewilderment, but vaguely guessed who was being searched for, as they had also heard the rumors. Lu Sen's forehead was slightly sweaty. It was just a little bit short. Even if it was delayed by 1 minute, it would be fine. There is a room full of black magic books in my house. However, Snape had already turned his gaze over and sneered, "Lead the way, Lu Sen. Let's see if the rumors are true." Snape was accompanied by several senior supervisors from other colleges, one of whom was Percy's girlfriend Penelope. It was only when she got here that she knew who to investigate. At this moment, she was looking at Percy in the crowd with a complicated expression. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Lu Sen had no choice but to turn around, hoping that Snape would show mercy. When they arrived at the dormitory, Snape waved his hand and several supervisors began to search Lu Sen's luggage and bed. Snape himself came to Lu Sen's door. He first waved his wand silently, and when he saw that the lock did not respond, he said, "Do you want to open it yourself, or do you want me to blow it open?" Lu Sen's forehead was sweating and he secretly winked at Snape. Snape glanced over and saw that no one was paying attention to this side, then nodded implicitly. With this secret code, Lu Sen felt relieved. He walked forward to turn the combination lock, and then made a gesture with his hand to release the hidden alarm talisman. Seeing that the door containing the compressed space was opened, two of the supervisors were about to go in to check, but were stopped by Snape. "Check the dormitory carefully and keep a close eye on Lu Sen. I will personally check inside." As he said this, he raised his cloak and stepped into the door. Several supervisory students outside turned the dormitory upside down but found nothing. A few minutes later, Snape came out with a sullen look on his face, clutching a few books. Several Slytherin supervisors looked at Lu Sen with gloating expressions, thinking that he was doomed this time. But Snape said, "You have hidden books and magazines that are not suitable for children. You will be deducted 10 points from Gryffindor." "Humph! You are immoral. You have a bad character. I think you should be put in detention." "Lu Sen, that's just a fashion magazine. Why are you talking like Uncle Huang?" Late at night, Lu Sen packed up all the books that Snape ignored, and secretly made an appointment with Malfoy to meet in an abandoned classroom. After waiting for a long time, Malfoy didn't show up, but an unexpected figure appeared in the classroom. Big ears, big eyes like baseballs, and a dirty rag covering his body. More than. The house elf was startled. He didn't expect that the person he met would be someone he had met once before. "Mr. Lu. Lu Sen. Dobby, come and get the book." The master asked Dobby to come. "That coward doesn't even dare to come in person," Lu Sen said with some contempt. Hearing this, Dobby couldn't hold back his laughter at first, then immediately said in horror, "Dobby is such a bad elf. How dare he agree with words that belittle his master? Dobby must punish himself." After saying that, he looked around, and when he saw that there was nothing suitable, he resolutely banged his head against the broken desk next to him. "Dun! Dun! Dun!" Dobby hit himself so hard that he saw stars and gasped for breath while holding his forehead. Lu Sen was helpless against the elf's inherent humility. He knew that even if Dobby was open-minded enough, other more traditional elves would have to burn themselves with a branding iron. House elves are so loyal and terrifying. "You are Harry Potter's friend, right? Sir, please tell Harry Potter that he must leave school as soon as possible. Something terrible will happen this year." Lu Sen's eyes flashed. "Are you talking about the diary? Can you find it?" Dobby immediately showed a look of horror. Dobby can't say it. Really can't say it." He covered his mouth tightly, stared at Lu Sen and shook his head vigorously. Then he grabbed the packed books and disappeared after a snap of his fingers. Lu Sen's eyes were filled with tears as he said to himself, "The elf's magic is really good. I want to learn it too." On the way back, Lu Sen visited Snape by the way, and the other party was indeed in high spirits, flipping, crossed out, and making medicine. "Professor, today is all thanks to you." "Humph! You have quite a bit of stock. Aren't you afraid of being sent to Azkaban?" "How could that be possible? I'm just doing a critical study. I'm just looking for inspiration in it. I aspire to be a White Lord. No, I aspire to be a good wizard." Snape curled his lips and said in a mocking tone, "Really? Then why don't you tell me what white magic you learned in there?" Seeing that the other party looked down on him, Lu Sen decided to show his latest research results. "Sorry for the poor performance." After saying that, Lu Sen took out the Thunder Wand and quickly said to Snape, "Avada." The first half of the sentence made the opponent's pupils shrink suddenly, and he quickly looked for his wand, but the next sentence almost made him fall. "Drawing big cakes. What the hell? Avatar is just making up a story. Did you read a pirated book? Is this how the killing curse is pronounced?" In the blink of an eye, a green light mixed with lightning hit Snape with a crackling sound. Then he widened his eyes, remained silent for a few seconds in disbelief, and then the corners of his mouth twitched, and he raised his hand to point to the door. "You, get out." Chapter 131. After leaving Snape, Lu Sen was in a good mood. He was so happy to make Snape lose face. Lu Sen forgot to be invisible and ran into Sir Nicholas as he walked. Now everyone had to call him Headless Nick. Nick's head was in front, talking to Peeves, while his body was following not far away. Friend Lou. Good evening. Hello, sir. Hey, Peeves is here too. The two ghosts were already accustomed to Lu Sen walking at night and did not feel anything was wrong. By the way, my dear Lu, Halloween in a few days will be the 500th anniversary of my death. Nick took the body back and bowed solemnly. I would be honored if you could join me. Our Headless Night Club will put on a unique show, which is guaranteed to be exciting. There are also ghosts from all over the country celebrating for me. It will definitely be lively. Oh, of course, I can understand if you don't want to. The little wizards will definitely not like it. They are all ghosts, too gloomy. But Lu Sen barely hesitated. I do, thank you for your invitation, sir. He smiled and said, I bet there are not many people alive who have the privilege of attending such a party. It must be an amazing experience. A few days later, it was Halloween night. The auditorium was rearranged, and the sky above the magic ceiling was set to be a night sky with constant thunder, and from time to time, magical bats flew by. Hagrid's oversized pumpkins came in handy and were carved into beautiful jack-o'-lanterns, each one big enough for 3 people to sit in. The colorful flags and badges on the wall were all replaced with dark colors, the dining table was lit with shining candles, and delicious dishes were piled high. But there are 2 people who are not going to have any of this. They have to attend Sir Nicholas's death anniversary party. Take it and stick it inside your clothes. Lu Sen handed a few pieces of talisman paper to Harry. This is the Blazing Sun talisman. Hundreds of ghosts gathered together, the yin energy is too strong. If you are not prepared, you will get sick. Harry took it gratefully and stuck it on like Lu Sen did. I was so stupid. I should have refused when Nick invited me. Harry said regretfully. Okay, we Chinese have a saying, a real man should stick to his word. Do you understand? Since you have promised, you must work hard to do it. And Ron and the others will pack up some delicious food and we can eat it in the dormitory tonight. After comforting Harry, the 2 of them came to the door of the dungeon classroom together. Sir Nicholas met them at the door, draped in a black velvet cloth, the kind that looked like a coffin. My dear friends, he said in a sad tone, welcome, welcome. I am so glad that you can come. He bowed and invited them in with perfect ancient nobility. There were already hundreds of translucent ghosts gathered inside, so crowded that they overlapped each other. The dense ghosts made the temperature here icy cold, and the breath they exhaled was covered with white mist. Lu Sen patted Harry and signaled him to activate the talisman in his clothes. Harry had used the talismans drawn by Lu Sen many times. With a trace of magic power in his hand, he clapped it upwards. A warm current instantly flowed into his body, and the coldness that had penetrated into the bones was instantly dispelled. His whole body felt like lying in the midday sun. The trembling stopped, and the 2 of them looked around carefully. The style here was completely different from the upstairs. The candles were small and black, emitting a faint blue light, making the atmosphere even more eerie and gloomy. Most of the ghosts were dancing waltz to the music. If that could be considered music, it was definitely the ugliest song Lu Sen and the others had ever heard. The instruments in the band ghosts' hands are hacksaws. The sound they make is like scratching a blackboard with fingernails. The 2 listened to the creepy saw music and walked in carefully. The reason for being careful was that there were too many ghosts and it was easy for them to pass through their bodies if they were not careful. That kind of experience is not pleasant, and it will give people a feeling of being poured with a bucket of cold water, feeling chilled to the core and not feeling elated. There were also a few familiar ghosts in the field, including Myrtle, Peeves, the Bloody Baron, the Grey Girl, and the Fat Friar, who was the resident ghost of Hufflepuff with an easygoing personality and a good heart. Apart from them, there are only a few weird guys, such as the depressed nun ghost, the ragged ghost with chains, the night ghost with an arrow stuck in the forehead, and so on. At the other end of the underground classroom was a long table also covered with black velvet. From a distance, it looked like there was a lot of food on it. The 2 walked over curiously, but were horrified to find that the dishes were all rotten and moldy. Large pieces of rotten fish, charred bread, minced meat crawling with maggots, cheese with green hair, and moldy cakes in the shape of tombstones. Harry felt sick when he saw it, but Lu Sen was interested in finding the words on the cake. Sir Nicholas de Mincy Porpington died on October 1492, 10. At this moment, a fat ghost floated over, walked across the table with his mouth wide open, as if tasting rotten fish. Can you taste it like this? Harry asked curiously. The ghost looked at the 2 of them with resentment on his face and said, that's about it. Then he sighed, turned around and floated away. Lu Sen guessed, they must have deliberately let the food rot to make the smell stronger. After all, ghosts can't taste. As they turned around, they happened to see Myrtle floating by. "Good evening, Myrtle." Myrtle realized it was Lu Sen and instantly let out a short scream. "Hogwarts, little devil." After saying this, she immediately covered her mouth and trembled all over. She regretted very much that she had called out that title. The whole place was silent for a few seconds. Some ghosts who came from afar realized that Lu Sen was the one who chopped Peeves and split Sir Nicholas, and they began to stir. Lu Sen tried his best to show a kind smile. The nickname of Little Devil had not been mentioned for a long time. It was not easy to make everyone forget it, and it must not be spread again. "Don't cry, Myrtle. What's there to be afraid of? I'm not a vicious villain." But the other party became even more frightened, and relying on the large number of ghosts in the field, he cried even more unscrupulously. When Lu Sen was thinking about how to comfort the other party, he suddenly thought of the newly researched magic, which theoretically works on the soul. So he took out the thunder wand and chanted in a barely perceptible voice, "Avada! Draw a pie in the sky." Myrtle in mid-air suddenly froze, as if she was paused. Did you fail?" But the next second, Myrtle suddenly shed silent tears as big as beans, but there was a smile on her face. Ghosts whispered in the crowd, "I wasn't kidding you, was I? Myrtle has been played badly by this kid. She was scared to death before, but this time it was even worse, she was crying and laughing at the same time." Lu Sen was immediately horrified. "What the hell? What the hell is going on? How can someone slander someone's innocence for no reason? Be careful or I'll chop you." But at this time Myrtle smacked her lips, "It's so fragrant and sweet. It tastes like chocolate. It's been 50 years. I can taste chocolate again. Oh he he he." She put away her fear and tears, and suddenly floated in front of Lu Sen. She shook her twin ponytails and posed in what she thought was a charming posture, then said in a clipped voice, "What magic did you use? Can you give it to me again? Please. I will never say that you are a little devil again. Let me taste it again. You can ask me to do anything." Lu Sen took 2 steps back. This seemed to be really messed up. Was the effect of this spell too much? The Cruciatus Curse, one of the 3 unforgivable curses, was originally a forbidden spell that tortured people. However, Lu Sen was inspired by analyzing the principle. Since the Cruciatus Curse can impose the evil and torture in the caster's heart on the target's soul, can other emotions and feelings also do the same? Thus, Avada Pie in the Sky came into being. Its main function is to force people to experience certain emotions or feelings. Currently, the most skilled method Lu Sen uses is to let the target taste anything he has eaten. Chapter 132. Knowledge is neither good nor evil, and the same is true for magic. For example, now, Lu Sen modified the unforgivable curse and developed Avada Hwada Bing and became a fast food chef. Lu Sen sat in the middle of the stage in the hall, surrounded by hundreds of translucent ghosts glowing with a faint light. "Next up is Yorkshire meatball pudding." After saying that, Lu Sen swung his hand and a large-scale chain of lightning hit the expectant ghosts. A few seconds later, the ghosts who had finished the tasting burst into deafening cheers. "It's been 70 years. I finally got to taste this long-lost flavor again. Woohoo! It's so delicious. I feel like I'm alive again. Merlin's beard. Am I dreaming? Don't let me wake up. So happy. So delicious. Praise Lu Sen. Praise Lu Sen." This scene has been played out more than a dozen times. After Lu Sen's experiment with the pie in the sky spell was successful, he performed it several times on several familiar Gryffindor ghosts. Then more and more ghosts were eager to try, so Lu Sen told Sir Nicholas about the situation and regarded it as a gift for his death anniversary. After laughter and excited cheers, the energetic performance began. The first was a performance by the Headless Horsemen, a team of knights riding ghost horses who performed unique skills on horseback, such as high-altitude head throwing, head swapping, and flying head headers. Then there are ghost dances floating in the air, ethereal and mournful songs, and a symphony of saw blades that makes your scalp tingle. Nicholas, who had some free time, came to express his gratitude and said that today was the happiest day for them ghosts in hundreds of years. The pain of not being able to taste food troubled every ghost, and it was Lu Sen who allowed them to experience the joy of the living again. Many ghosts expressed their desire to follow Lu Sen and were willing to pay any price for this, as long as he occasionally performed a magic pie drawing magic. Lu Sen had never thought that such a spell would make the ghosts admire him so much. He could not imagine that after tonight, his name would resound throughout the world of the dead. After serving 2 more desserts to the ghosts, Lu Sen planned to take the hungry Harry away, but 3 greedy troublemakers blocked their way. "I haven't had enough yet. Who asked you to leave? I want to eat barbecue. Come on." There are also many extremely vicious ghosts. Some of them became bad after death, while others were not good people when they were alive. Sir Nicholas invites ghosts from all over the world to celebrate the 500th anniversary of his death, but he didn't expect that there would be some scum among them. Lu Sen couldn't help but smile when he saw those greedy people with ferocious faces and drooling mouths. "For friends I have wine, but for wolves I also have a sharp knife." After saying that, there was a flash of light, and the scorching lightning sword spewed out terrifying energy, instantly illuminating the underground classroom. All the ghosts in the field screamed and retreated, shielding their faces with their hands in vain, trying to block the sword light that was as blazing as the sun. The 3 ghosts surrounding Lu Sen were the first to be hit. They were locked in place by the overwhelming pressure of the lightsaber and their bodies became uncontrollable. The tall and strong guy in the lead had a fierce look on his face and seemed a little dissatisfied. Lu Sen snorted lightly, and without saying a word, he took out a talisman to suppress evil and threw it away. The ghost screamed and flew backwards, with white mist coming out of its body like an ice cube being roasted. Its entire soul became more transparent, and it felt like it would dissipate at any time. A few more talismans were thrown out, and the 3 ghosts blocking the way quickly shrank and were finally wrapped in the talisman paper ball. At this moment, all the ghosts remembered Lu Sen's nickname, and looked at this kind little wizard who brought laughter to everyone again. "How dare you rob me on the road? I'll lock them up for decades, right?" All the ghosts shook their heads in unison, fearing that if they were too slow to agree, the other party would throw the terrifying piece of paper at them, not to mention the lightning sword that exuded the pressure of a natural enemy. "They deserve it. Yes. You deserve it. How dare you disrespect Lord Lu Sen? Lock him up for 100 years. Throw him in the toilet. Dare to offend Lord Lu Sen. Kill them." Lu Sen was very satisfied with the reactions of the ghosts, and he threw another pie-in-the-sky curse at them. This time it was fragrant wine, and the ghosts got drunk one after another. Some of them even fell to the ground drunk with happiness. The banquet in the hall upstairs should be over by now. Lu Sen and Harry walked to the dormitory while discussing the interesting things at the ghost banquet. Ron and others had already packed the food and would return to the dormitory in a while. When they walked into a corridor, Harry suddenly frowned and looked around strangely. "Did you hear it?" Lu Sen pricked up his ears but found nothing. "What did you hear?" A voice, a very hoarse voice, but different from a ghost. "Didn't you hear it?" Lu Sen frowned slightly. He couldn't hear anything at all, but Harry could. Could it be Parcel Tongue? Tear you apart, kill you. I'm starving, I've been starving for a long, long time. It's time to kill. The more Harry listened, the more terrified he became. He didn't have time to think about why the voice was so strange and cold, and he ran towards the sound of it. In a corridor on the 3rd floor, they found a message written in blood on the wall: "The secret room has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware." There was a pool of water under the wall, and in the flickering torchlight, the words on the wall and something hanging on it were reflected. Hiss! It's Mrs. Loris. Filch's cat was hanging next to the torch, motionless and stiff as a piece of wood. Harry was about to reach out and touch it, but Lu Sen pulled him behind him. "We can't move around at the crime scene. Besides, we're the first to discover it, so it's easy for people to suspect us. Stay back." But before the two could take a few steps away, hundreds of footsteps were heard on both sides of the corridor, and a large group of wizards came in noisily. The banquet was over, and the young wizards were returning to the dormitory. Seeing that there was no way to retreat, Lu Sen simply took out his camera and took a few photos of the scene. When the little wizards saw the hung cat and the words on the wall, the scene suddenly became extremely quiet. Even though Harry tried hard to explain, the little wizards still kept their distance from the two out of fear. At this time, a gloating voice sounded in the crowd, "Lu Sen! You are doing black magic experiments again." It was Malfoy. After his sickly voice was heard, everyone began to talk in a low voice and matched it with some recent rumors. What happened here? Make way. Filch heard the noise here and squeezed to the front of the crowded crowd. When he saw his cat, he was stunned. Mrs. Lowe, Mrs. Loris. Who is it? Lu Sen quickly comforted her. Argus. She was petrified. She is not dead. I will help you find the murderer. A few Slytherins in the crowd who had a grudge against Lu Sen shouted quietly, you did it. Argus looked at the crowd, then at Lu Sen, and after struggling for a while, he chose to believe Lu Sen. Would Master Lu Sen harm his own cat? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Those little wizards who sow discord are really bad. Chapter 133. Dumbledore arrived quickly with the professors. After picking up Mrs. Norris, he told the young wizards to return to their dormitories, and then called Lu Sen and Harry to find out what happened. Lockhart suggested, let's go to my office. Just upstairs. Arriving at Lockhart's office, Dumbledore carefully put Mrs. Norris down and began the inspection. Lockhart offered advice, it must have been a powerful dark magic that killed her. It was most likely a transfiguration torture curse, which I have seen many times when traveling. What a pity I was not there at the time, I happened to know the antidote, and could have saved it. Filch couldn't stand it any longer. Shut up. Master Lu Sen said my cat is not dead. Lockhart smiled and shook his head. If you ask me, children still have a poor eye for things. Experience is not something you can fake. It's something you gain through personal experience. I know you don't want to accept it, but unfortunately. Seeing Lu Sen's disdainful look, Lockhart quickly continued, I encountered a similar thing in Uagadu. A series of attacks occurred at that time. Fortunately, I arrived in time and gave them a lot of amulets, which perfectly solved the problem. You can see relevant records in my works. It's a pity that Mrs. Norris was killed so long ago. It's too late now. Uagadu, the magic school with the largest number of students, where all the wizards in Africa study, is located in the Moon Mountains of Uganda, Africa, and is much larger than Hogwarts. At this time, Dumbledore raised his head, exchanged glances with Professor McGonagall and said, it's not dead. Lockhart was speechless for a moment, and hurriedly tried to smooth things over awkwardly, I just discovered it too. He's not dead after all. Dumbledore continued, she has been hit by a spell similar to the petrification curse. Don't worry, in a few months, when Mrs. Sprout's mandrake matures, we will be able to prepare an antidote. I'll make it, Lockhart interrupted. I've made it at least 100 times. I can even make the mandrake herb in my dreams. Excuse me, Snape interrupted Lockhart coldly, I thought I was the potions teacher at this school. The scene suddenly became very awkward. Lu Sen laughed out loud mercilessly and secretly gave Professor Snape a thumbs up. Afterwards, Headmaster Dumbledore asked Lu Sen and Harry to describe in detail what they had seen that night. Harry hesitated whether to tell them that he heard a strange sound. Lu Sen saw his concerns and wanted to persuade him to speak frankly, but there was a loud-mouthed fool in the crowd, so he didn't say anything more. After leaving Lockhart's office, Lu Sen took Harry directly to find Headmaster Dumbledore again. He also told Harry about his ability to hear special sounds, and with Lu Sen's suggestion, he successfully matched Harry's ability with Parseltongue. Parseltongue is a rare gift that allows one to communicate directly with snakes. One of the founders of Hogwarts, Salazar Slytherin, was a Parseltongue. Harry saw that Headmaster Dumbledore looked serious, and asked in confusion, I believe many wizards can do it. I once went to the zoo and chatted with a snake. Dumbledore and Lu Sen exchanged a glance, and the latter understood. He patiently explained, this ability is not common even among wizards, but don't worry. This does not mean that you have any connection with this attack. Mr. Lu Sen, did you see any signs in the prophecy about this matter? Lu Sen thought about it and decided that instead of passively waiting for the diary to cause trouble, it would be better to take the initiative and nip the hidden danger in the bud in advance. I am actually responsible for this matter. Seeing Dumbledore and Harry looking at him in confusion, Lu Sen continued, before school started, someone wanted to use a dark magic item to murder Ginny Weasley. I found out and stopped them in advance. Afterwards, Lu Sen told the headmaster some of the things related to the diary. When he mentioned that the person in the diary called himself Tom Riddle, Dumbledore showed an unprecedented solemn expression. Some time ago, the diary escaped from the multiple seals by some unknown means. The office fell silent for a moment. After a while, Dumbledore asked tentatively, so the clues are gone after we get here, right? Lu Sen's eyes flashed, no. I also know what happened. The diary controlled a student to open the secret room and release the basilisk. Harry was confused and had no idea what Lu Sen was talking about. He only knew that something terrible was about to happen. But when Dumbledore heard this, he almost jumped out of his chair. There was a basilisk in the Chamber of Secrets. 50 years ago, Myrtle's accidental death became an unsolved case. At that time, Dumbledore suspected whether it was related to the Chamber of Secrets. But in the end, nothing was done about it, and Hagrid had to bear the blame for 50 years. Lu Sen also knew the interests involved. He did not keep the secret and said directly, let's skip the process and go directly to the end. Before the diary's power is fully restored and the basilisk does too much damage, I will take you directly to the secret room. There are still many scientific research projects that have not been implemented this semester, and anyone who hinders technological progress and affects his leisurely life must die. Comrade Deng was immediately delighted. It was convenient to have a great profit. Let's load up our weapons and set off directly. In fact, the entrance to the secret room is right here. At this point, Lu Sen suddenly frowned. That's weird. I know it clearly. The entrance to the secret room is. This feeling is very strange. It's right next to my lips, but I can't remember the details no matter how hard I try. To find the secret room, just say open in snake language, and then walk to the deepest part to find the basilisk. There are many huge snake statues where the basilisk lives. It's so strange, except for the entrance, I remember everything else. It's as if something has erased my memory. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind and he thought of a possibility. He looked at Dumbledore and found that he had the same idea as him, the Fidelius charm. Damn it! Lu Sen said angrily, the diary actually used the Fidelius spell on the location of the secret room. There is no solution to the high-level protective magic of the Fidelius charm. No matter how sophisticated the method, it is impossible to find or mark the hidden location. The diary stole Lu Sen's scientific research notes when he escaped. The things recorded on them were all his creative ideas that he recorded on a whim or essays that only he could understand. Many of them were written in Chinese, and I don't know how much the diary understood. But the last few pages did record Lu Sen's analysis of the Fidelius curse. It's very likely that the diary was inspired by this to use it. Lu Sen felt very frustrated. The secret room completely became a secret room. The diary actually predicted his prediction. Chapter 134. No one knows where the diary is hidden, and it has controlled a little wizard to open the secret room. The most troublesome thing is that the diary also hid the entrance to the secret room with the Fidelius charm. Lu Sen regretted this for a few days. Under the instigation of his little butterfly, the plot advantage he had originally grasped became a reference. This year, which should have been stress-free, gradually lost control. But after thinking about it, Lu Sen was relieved again. What's the big deal? It's just a snake monster. It can be solved with one sword. Anyway, it has happened. Let's fight against it. There is another thing that is completely different from what I remember, and that is the ghosts. The 500th anniversary of Sir Nicholas's death was not originally so lively, but with Lu Sen's intervention, almost Headless Nick was successfully upgraded to Headless Nick and joined the Headless Horseman Club. More ghosts came on Halloween and were captured by Lu Sen's painting pie curse. There are now more than 10 times more ghosts wandering around the campus than usual, all unwilling to leave for a bite to eat. Even more ghosts have heard the news and come in the past few days. Many ghosts even swore allegiance to Lu Sen, saying that they would obey Lu Sen's orders in the future without salary or money, and would be on call 24 hours a day, all year round. They would do whatever they were told, as long as they could draw a pie occasionally. What's more, some are willing to exchange all their property for the opportunity to stay with Lu Sen. Many of those guys who disappeared in the dust of history were buried in the ground as the last member of the family without having the chance to find an heir. As ghosts, they can only live in a muddle-headed way, without enjoying anything they had in life. They can't eat, can't touch objects, and can't even die. Because they are already dead. But now, Lu Sen is not only powerful, with the ability to kill ghosts, but also has the means to make their lives better. Drawing a big cake curse. Where can I find such a wizard? I can't find one in hundreds of years. Lu Sen was not interested in small amounts of money, but when he heard that many ghosts' legacies contained magic and objects that had been lost hundreds of years ago, he became a little tempted. So he used the name of testing to make those ghosts who were unwilling to leave act as security guards. In order to avoid alerting the enemy, these ghosts are hidden in every corner of the castle, in vases, behind murals, in the cracks of the ceiling. Never show your head when there are many people around, and wait until late at night when everyone is asleep to quietly observe any suspicious wizards passing by. After everything is arranged, campus life must go on as usual. In the next few days, Filch's temper became extremely bad, but unlike in the past, he did not hide in the dark to catch the little wizards. Instead, he patrolled the castle with a magic spray gun, and when he saw a suspicious little wizard, he would go over to question him. Especially the corridor where Mrs. Norris was hung, he stopped there for a long time every day, as if he felt that the murderer would come back. The young wizards talked about the attack on Mrs. Lawless every day, and they whispered to each other when they saw Lucien and Harry. Lucien had nothing to say about this, so he asked Xylee to guide public opinion and post a message to tell everyone about the grand occasion of Lucien's attendance at the ghost banquet that night. Lucien had taken photos at the banquet, and with the testimony of many ghosts, he and Harry were directly proved to be innocent. However, there are still many young wizards who are not convinced. Lucien does not have a good face towards such people, especially in Slytherin, where many people think that Lucien is studying black magic. Lucien specifically stopped Malfoy and asked him if he had spread rumors. His girlfriend Pansy was so frightened that her face turned pale and she hid behind Malfoy the whole time. Xiao Ma immediately stated that he was definitely not the one who informed on Lucien, but if Lucien continued to study black magic or threatened the safety of him and his friends, he would consider confessing the book borrowing to the professors and dying together. Lucien was a little surprised. After some indirection, coercion, and inducement, he came to the conclusion that it was not Malfoy who informed on the person. This class is History of Magic, and the teacher is the most dedicated teacher in the school, Professor Binns, who insists on teaching even after turning into a ghost. There were not many students when Lucien arrived at the classroom. He saw that Professor Binns seemed to be hesitant to speak, and he immediately understood. The pie in the sky curse was immediately activated, and more than a dozen snacks were generously served. Finally, a cup of fragrant hand-ground coffee was thoughtfully served. The professor was so delicious that he cried. In the following class, Professor Binns was unusually energetic and no longer dull. The most obvious change is that the little wizards did not sleep together in class today. Professor Binns is a living history book, and he took this opportunity for the young wizards to express their doubts. They all want to know what the legendary secret chamber is like. Everyone said that the recent events were related to the Chamber of Secrets, but no one could explain the specific circumstances. The most popular book in the library right now was A History of Hogwarts, and Hermione went to borrow it several times but failed. People wanted to know the truth of the matter. Professor Binns couldn't resist the students' constant nagging and had to tell everyone what he knew. Hogwarts was founded more than 1,000 years ago. 4 great wizards established this school to provide a safe haven for future generations. You must be familiar with their names: Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. The 4 colleges are named after them. At the beginning, they could live in harmony and teach the young wizards together. But later, the conflict between Salazar Slytherin and the other 3 became increasingly difficult to mediate. He believed that only pure-blood wizards were qualified to learn magic. Slytherin had a fierce argument with Gryffindor over this and eventually chose to leave. This is the known true history, but many people have added an unfounded legend to the end. Legend has it that before Slytherin left, he built a secret chamber in an unknown corner of the castle. When his true descendant returns to the school, the secret chamber will be reopened and the horrible things inside will be released to purify the school and eliminate all those with impure blood. This is complete nonsense. The school has investigated countless times and there is no such thing as a secret chamber. But the young wizards who were discussing enthusiastically below obviously did not think that the Chamber of Secrets was some legend. After class, Harry and the other 2 gathered together and whispered to each other. Lucien vaguely heard them discussing Malfoy or something. Harry and Ron looked at Lucien from time to time, but turned their heads back when they saw Hermione's gaze. Lucien was puzzled. Are these 3 going to play the detective game again? Chapter 135. If I weren't your roommate, I would really think that you were studying something weird. Ron said in the dormitory with a frown. Lucien put the live bat in his hand back into the cage, took off his gloves, picked up a pen and started writing and drawing. Don't worry, I won't let you see me when I'm researching weird things. Ron knew, of course, that the other party was joking, so he matched his joke with a terrified expression and said, "Let's go. Grab a good seat and cheer for Harry." Lu Sen agreed and left the dormitory together. There was a Quidditch match today, Gryffindor vs. Slytherin. After arriving at the stands, Lu Sen distributed the snacks in his bag to Ginny and others, then took out a pair of special-shaped glasses and started adjusting them. They are called glasses, but they don't have transparent lenses, and you can't see anything through them. Wearing them will completely block your vision. What's more special is that there is a pair of huge ears on both sides of the glasses, and they can automatically adjust the direction like animal ears. This is Lu Sen's latest developed sonar glasses. In order to deal with the snake monster that kills anyone who looks at it, Lu Sen pondered and borrowed the echo-imaging ability of bats to create this magic prop that does not rely on visual perception of the environment. As long as I don't look at you, your eyes can't hurt me. I get the image by listening to the sound. What can you do to me? When the glasses start working, they will emit ultrasonic waves that are inaudible to the human ear. After the sound waves hit the object, the returning sound waves are captured and processed by the big ears on the glasses, and then turned into pictures and input into the wearer's mind. With the blessing of magic, the glasses present a very clear picture to the wearer. Except that they can only see black and white, there is no difference from what the eyes see. The range is wide and the delay is low. It is quite unscientific. But it is very magical. Lu Sen also added a magic detection function to it. If there is a magic fluctuation anywhere, the glasses will give a prompt immediately. On the field, the Slytherin team used brutal tactics to steal the ball from Gryffindor, and Marcus Flint dribbled the ball and hit the opponent, earning 10 points. At this moment, a thin figure suddenly appeared in Lu Sen's glasses, with tennis ball-shaped eyes, a pointed nose, and big ears, a house elf. Taking off the glasses and looking over, I saw the figure hiding under the stands diagonally opposite. If it weren't for the fluctuation of magic power just now, it would be difficult to find his trace. Dobby. Lu Sen frowned and muttered to himself, "Why is he here?" Lu Sen borrowed Ron's telescope and looked over. He saw Dobby looking up and staring at Harry on the field. After hesitating for a long time, he snapped his fingers. Soon Lu Sen knew what the other party had done, because a bludger suddenly went crazy, staring at Harry and chasing him relentlessly. Harry used his flexibility to his advantage, moving in a zigzag pattern and spinning in circles, and dodged several attacks. The bludger is fast but not flexible enough, and often a sharp turn by Harry will cause the bludger to lose its direction. A blessing in disguise was that while Harry was dodging the bludger, he suddenly discovered the golden snitch. Soon after, Malfoy also found the target. The two of them snatched the golden snitch one after the other, followed by the crazy bludger. After a thrilling chase, Harry narrowly caught the golden snitch, but was hit on the arm by the bludger at the last moment. The bludger carried Dobby's magic power, which accidentally interfered with the protective suit, and the airbag that was supposed to be deployed in advance lost its function. Harry's arm was instantly broken. It was not until Harry was about to fall off the broom that the protective suit reacted and wrapped him tightly. After the protective suit offset the impact of the fall and was slowly recovered, everyone could see the golden ball in his hand. Lee Jordan's commentary suddenly sounded, "Harry Potter caught the golden snitch. Gryffindor wins." Amid the cheers of the crowd, Harry struggled to sit up from the ground. He felt severe pain in his broken arm whenever he moved it. At the same time, Lu Sen quickly went around to where Dobby was. "Certainly." A swift bolt of lightning struck Dobby, instantly freezing the house elf. Dobby tried hard to turn his eyes, which were as big as tennis balls, and when he saw Lu Sen, he instantly showed a look of horror. "Dobby, are you taking this a bit too far?" Lu Sen said angrily, "I know you want to protect Harry, but what you are doing is really stupid. You might accidentally kill him." Seeing that the other party was rolling his eyes anxiously, as if he wanted to say something, Lu Sen controlled his magic power and untied the restrictions on Dobby's mouth. Dobby must ensure Harry Potter's safety. Dobby is doing this to keep the great Harry Potter away from Hogwarts. The other person sniffed and said in horror, "Something terrible is about to happen in Hogwarts." Lu Sen chuckled, "Oh, I know, isn't it just a secret room? There will be basilisks and other things in it. You underestimate us too much, it's just a basilisk, it's not enough for me to chop it with one sword." Suddenly, there were cries of surprise from the little wizards and dull bang-bang sounds from the arena. Lu Sen frowned and looked over, only to see Harry rolling around on the ground in a panic on the field where the game had already ended, trying to avoid the crazy bludger. Why isn't it over yet? Dobby hurriedly said, let me go. Let me stop the magic. But Lu Sen didn't give him a chance. He quickly took out the thunder wand and swung it to cast a lighting spell. This time's lighting technique is different from the previous ones. It is a new technique that Lu Sen has learned based on the newly learned black magic. To put it simply, this illumination technique can launch a beam of mini lightning lightsaber. I saw a streak of light flying out in an instant, automatically correcting its direction in mid-air and accurately hitting the bludger. At the moment it penetrated the sphere, a dazzling white light flashed, it exploded. Lu Sen nodded, very satisfied with the new lighting technique he had learned. Let's call it Illumination Technique Laser Gun Mode. He smiled and said, Dobby, look, Harry is very safe with me, don't do anything tricky in the future. Hey? Where did it go? When I looked back, I saw that Dobby had actually untied the magic and ran away. Lu Sen sighed helplessly. The elf's magic was very unique and could be used flexibly with just a snap of fingers. Judging from Dobby's performance of magic in the past few times, the elf's magic is a self-contained system that can not only interfere with wizard's magic, but also ignore the restrictions of Hogwarts and perform apparition. I'll find a house elf if I have the chance. I'll study their magic. Lu Sen was in a bad mood because he failed to dissuade Dobby, but he quickly came to his senses. If I remember correctly, Gilderoy Lockhart is going to use his half-full bottle technique to harm the world again. Chapter 136. Harry, who caught the golden snitch, lay exhausted on the ground. His right hand was in great pain and the bones inside were broken. Lu Sen ran towards Harry quickly. In addition to a few friends, there was also a guy who was eager to show off Professor Lockhart, who arrived with him. Are you okay, Harry? Lu Sen said, squatting beside him. Not good, I feel my arm is broken. Harry grimaced in pain, but with a smile on his face. He won the game, and this little injury to his arm could be healed in a blink of an eye, whether it was Madame Pomfrey or Lu Sen. But at this moment, Lockhart took Harry's arm first. Don't worry, Harry, I'll get your arm fixed in no time. Harry and Lu Sen's faces changed drastically. No. No need. They said at the same time. But Lockhart showed what he thought was a brilliant smile. Look at this kid, he's so stupid from the fall, what nonsense is he talking about? Come on, leave it to me. He pulled Harry's sleeve back, revealing his twisted arm. Don't worry, it doesn't hurt at all. Lu Sen quickly pulled out his wand and planned to treat Harry first. He remembered very clearly that Lockhart, this idiot, would not treat Harry at all, but would make Harry's bones disappear. Hey! What are you doing, Lu Sen? Put down your wand. Seeing that Lu Sen was trying to steal the limelight from him, Lockhart was immediately displeased. He said in a serious tone, healing spells are a very advanced subject. It's not something a second-year wizard can master. You'd better stand behind me and learn it carefully. There was a hint of teasing in Lu Sen's eyes, but he immediately showed a kind smile. Everyone, please move aside. Professor Lockhart is going to perform a healing skill. Please move aside. Lockhart nodded with satisfaction and glanced at the little wizards who gathered around him, especially the little witches who admired him very much. He smiled and said to Lu Sen, I have performed healing spells on thousands of people. You should take a good look at my works. I can heal any serious injury in an instant. This kind of magic is as easy for me as eating and drinking. Let me teach you today. Hagrid was also in the crowd. Hearing this, he said mercilessly, I think we should leave it to Lu Sen. He is very good at healing magic. Madame Pomfrey approves of it. While everyone's attention was drawn to Hagrid, Lu Sen quietly cast a small spell at Harry, and the lightning effect disappeared in an instant. Super Iron Armor partially enhanced anti-injury version. When Lockhart turned around, Lu Sen had already stepped aside as if nothing had happened, and smiled at his puzzled friends and Hagrid. Several people immediately understood, this smile seems a little familiar. Harry had already felt the subtle changes in his arm. Although he was still a little nervous facing the unreliable Lockhart, he guessed that Lu Sen's magic must have a special effect. The crowd had dispersed into a circle, leaving Harry and Lockhart alone in the center. This is exactly what Lockhart wants. The stage has been set, and it's time for him to show his skills. Lockhart raised his wand and chanted to Harry's broken arm, Brachium e Mendo. A beam of blue light shot out from the wand, but when it hit Harry it suddenly bounced back with a whoosh. The light faded and Luha frowned, feeling like something was wrong. Seeing that everyone was waiting for the result, he smiled and said, "Move around. Your arm has been reattached." He turned around and blinked at Lu Sen again. "Did you learn it? If you can grasp a little bit of the essence from me." He raised his hand to indicate the distance of a fingertip, but was suddenly horrified to find that his fingers were not responding. "All are enough to benefit you for the rest of your life." "Ah! My arm!" Lockhart finally discovered that his entire arm had lost all its bones. It was as limp as a rubber glove filled with water. "Ah! Ah! My bones are gone! How could this happen?" He screamed in horror, at a loss as to what had happened to his arm. Lu Sen smiled and activated the healing light. In the blink of an eye, he healed Harry's arm. Then he said calmly, "Don't worry, Professor. This happens occasionally when healing magic is used improperly. You can go to the infirmary to ask Madame Pomfrey for help. She is very experienced in magical accidents." "Did you do something?" "I saw Lu Sen cast some magic on Harry beforehand." "It's dark magic. It must be dark magic. Lu Sen is the best at it. He wants to murder Professor Lockhart." Lockhart's little fans were instantly furious and started blaming Lu Sen. Lockhart's forehead was covered in sweat. He was trembling as he was helped up by his female classmates. "What did you do to me? Was it a curse or something?" I have encountered this kind of curse. It's too vicious. I'm going to tell the principal." Lu Sen glanced around coldly, and the murderous aura he inadvertently revealed instantly made the little wizard's hair stand on end, but the next second Lu Sen returned to his harmless appearance. "Professor, I know your story. You haven't forgotten it, have you?" Lu Sen emphasized the word story. Lockhart's pupils shrank instantly, and he heard the threat in Lu Sen's words. Lockhart's desire to survive was instantly aroused. "I think this might be an accident." He quickly racked his brains, trying to find an excuse to get away with it, but with his limited magical reserves, he really couldn't think of a good reason that would not anger Lu Sen and at the same time maintain his authority. Lu Sen saw his embarrassment, and in order to appease those crazy fans and to distance himself from the matter, he made an excuse for him. "I guess someone didn't want Harry to win the game, so they cast a dark spell on the bludger." Harry's arm was hit by the bludger and was contaminated with a small amount of dark magic. In order to protect the students when Professor Lockhart was dispelling the dark magic, he used his body to block the dark magic and protected us. Am I right, Professor? You were hit by the dark magic on purpose to protect us. Lockhart instantly seized the opportunity to redeem his image and his acting skills instantly recovered. Ha ha ha. That's right. Lu Sen, you're such a clever little guy. He pretended to be caught in a prank and broke free from the support of the female fan. I spotted the black magic attached to Harry's arm at a glance. After an impassioned speech, Lockhart shamelessly packaged himself once again as a good professor who was righteous and selfless, an all-round handsome guy who was proficient in various magics and was not afraid of danger. Lu Sen was quite impressed. This guy was really good at flattering himself. He was so shameless. If the magic just now hit his face, it probably wouldn't even penetrate his skin. Afterwards, Madame Pomfrey knew at a glance that Lockhart's arm had nothing to do with dark magic and was entirely caused by his failure to learn the bone-setting curse. However, Lockhart insisted on defending the story that Lu Sen had made up for him. Madame Pomfrey, who had long heard about Lockhart's character, did not investigate further. She gave him a cup of bone spirit potion and left. She even had to patiently drive away Lockhart's crying female fans who were surrounding the infirmary. Chapter 137. Early the next morning, Harry and Ron were dragged by Hermione to the school infirmary to visit Professor Lockhart. Harry and the other two were reluctant at first, but Lu Sen reminded them that they might see Lockhart in a miserable state there, so they happily went there. As for Lu Sen, he was totally uninterested and had more important things to do. He handed a thick stack of amulets to the twins and asked them to use their sales talent to make sure all the young wizards could wear them as soon as possible. No one would believe it if it was given away for free, and even without Lu Sen's intervention, the little wizards would make a bunch of fancy fake amulets to put their minds at ease, so it would be better to let the twins make a fortune. At least the little wizards could get the real thing. The amulet contains Chinese talismans, which will issue a warning when encountering evil magical aura. Once the wearer is in danger, the amulet can also provide a Yang-attributed magic power to maximize the chance of survival. At the same time, Lu Sen also shared a detailed design drawing in the scientific research team group. It was the echolocation glasses newly developed by Lu Sen. The secret room has been opened, and the basilisk inside will definitely come out for a stroll. When the time comes, the basilisk's eyes will glare at anyone who looks at it, and the little wizards will surely suffer heavy casualties. In the original plot, the basilisk's gaze was either refracted by the mirror in the water surface or filtered through the ghost. The lethality of the basilisk's eyes was greatly weakened, which is why no death was caused. But with Lu Sen, the little butterfly, around, who knows whether those lucky coincidences will happen as usual. So it's best for the little wizards to take precautions in advance. We had just started to strengthen our defense when we received bad news. Another victim appeared, and it was Harry's little fanboy Colin. Harry and his friends were the first to know about it, and they went to the infirmary to visit Professor Lockhart. As a result, just as I was about to open the door, I heard the professor's discussions. The incident happened at midnight last night. Colin was planning to visit Lockhart, but he was petrified halfway. Colin was carried to the infirmary. His body was stiff and his face was terrified, as if he had seen something horrible. He was still holding the camera tightly in his hand when he was petrified. The professors carefully pried open his hands and tried to look for clues in the camera, but when they opened it they found that the film was burned. Combining the experiences of the cat and the man, the professors reluctantly concluded that the secret room had been opened again. It took only one morning for the news to spread among the students. People on campus began to panic. No matter whether they were juniors or seniors, they all went out in groups of 3 or 5. With this fear, the young wizards all rushed to buy amulets, and the twins cleared out their stock in just one day. However, the promotion of the echolocation glasses was not smooth. Even though the price of the glasses was not high, the little wizards were still reluctant to buy them. The rumor that Lu Sen was studying the dark arts was still circulating on campus, and especially after Lockhart was hospitalized, more young wizards believed it. The news that Lu Sen personally developed these strange glasses spread quickly, so no one dared to wear them. In addition to Harry's 3 friends and a few friends who openly supported Lu Sen and his glasses, Luna Lovegood also liked this pair of glasses. In her words, "These glasses can help me spot harassers and maybe even a scimitar horned snorkeler." Unfortunately, her words could not inspire her classmates because everyone called her a crazy girl. Luna doesn't have many friends, maybe because of her unique way of thinking, or maybe because of her unique ethereal temperament. On the other side, the 3 little ones were whispering to each other more and more frequently. While Lu Sen was busy with scientific research, they were also busy. Sometimes he would secretly look for information in the library, and sometimes he would find excuses to wander outside Snape's private lounge. About a week later, Ron met Lu Sen alone, and only then did he know the plan of several people. "Polyjuice potion? Hermione is serious." "Yes. She thinks, there seems to be some connection between you and Malfoy, and she won't let Harry and I tell you. But her plan is too terrible." No wonder Ron felt terrified, even Lu Sen was stunned. Due to Malfoy's arrogance and his attitude towards Muggleborns, the 3 little ones guessed that he was most likely the heir to the Chamber of Secrets, so they decided to brew Polyjuice potion and sneak into Slytherin to find out the news. Polyjuice potion is very complicated to make. "And where do you get the ingredients for the potion?" As Lu Sen spoke, he took out his cell phone to check. Xiao Li had already thoughtfully retrieved the information about the compound decoction for him. Compound decoction, after taking it, one can completely transform into another person within a period of time. The transformation effect is extremely good and it is difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Materials needed: lacewings, leeches, sap grass, 2-eared grass, the horns of a 2-horned beast, the skin of an African tree snake. The brewing method is as follows. The information comes from the Forbidden Book area, powerful potion. Lu Sen raised his eyebrows. This formula was more complicated than all the potions he had to make in the 2nd grade combined. Moreover, the horns of the 2-horned beast and the skin of the African bush snake were very rare potion materials, and it was difficult to get them without some connections. Ron came over to take a look at Lu Sen's phone and said in surprise, "Why can you find it directly on your phone, but we can't?" In order to borrow the book, Hermione pretended to want to study Lockhart's crappy book and tricked him into signing the approval slip. Upon hearing this, Xylee burst into laughter. "Ah, books in the restricted section, you are too young to control yourself. Only a fearless young man like me with a strong will and a bright heart can read them critically." "Ahem. So how do you get the materials?" Ron put away his contemptuous look and said seriously, "Can you think of a solution? Otherwise Hermione will blow up the classroom." "What? So cruel. Lu Sen was stunned. He should give up the title of Hogwarts Little Devil. Hermione is the real devil. But Lu Sen had no intention of stopping it. It would be a shame to miss such a good show. Bomb. Bomb it however you want. I'll cover for you. During potions class on Thursday afternoon, Snape was patrolling the cauldron room as sternly as usual, supervising the students as they brewed the swelling potion. Except for Lu Sen, Harry, and Malfoy, all the young wizards were trembling with fear and dared not make the slightest mistake. Because Harry was waiting for Hermione's signal, he was absent-minded when making the potion. The potion he made was watery and did not meet the requirements at first glance. However, Snape just frowned, without any sarcasm, and gave careful guidance. Taking this opportunity, Lu Sen nodded to his friends, indicating that the plan should begin. He first took out a prepared box, which contained a large pile of modified cockroaches, cockroach-shaped gummy candies, Dumbledore's favorite. Then he reached into his pocket and grasped the thunder wand. Sealing Chain Xiaojin quietly poked his head out of his pocket, coiled down like a snake, rolled up the paper box, and sent it from under the table to the podium, and opened the lid of the box. After Xiaojin retreated quietly, Lu Sen began to count down in his mind, 3, 2, 1. The next second, a group of giant cockroaches swarmed out, sweeping across the entire potion classroom at an incredible speed. Suddenly, the ground, walls, tables, and even the little wizard's body were crawling with big cockroaches everywhere. They crawled incredibly fast under Lu Sen's transformation. While the little wizards were in chaos, Lu Sen quietly lit a Philippa firework produced by the twins and threw it accurately into Goyle's cauldron. Boom! With a loud bang, the swelling potion in the crucible splashed everywhere. Goyle was the first to be hit. His face suddenly swelled up. He already had a big face, and now it turned completely into a big plate face. Malfoy next to him didn't escape either. His nose swelled to the size of a coconut, hanging fatly on his face, scaring him so much that he almost fainted. Snape shouted angrily, trying to quiet the little wizards down, and the scene became a mess. Lu Sen glanced and saw that Hermione's position was vacant. With the help of the invisibility charm he provided, she slipped out silently. When the army of cockroaches was finally almost crushed by the brave male classmates and Snape had cured a few unlucky ones with anti-edema potion, Hermione finally came back. She pretended to have just stood up from under the table and nodded implicitly towards Lu Sen. This meant that she had successfully borrowed the necessary materials from Snape's private lounge not far away. Lu Sen sighed slightly. Hermione was too fast. He still had a stinky dung bomb in his pocket that he hadn't used. Snape, who was busy maintaining order, suddenly felt a chill on his back, as if a sense of malice was floating over. Chapter 138. After gathering all the materials, Hermione began to brew the polyjuice potion in Myrtle's toilet, where no one usually went. The steps of brewing are very complicated. The liquid grass must be picked on the day of the full moon, and the lacewings must be boiled for 20 days. The whole potion takes about a month to complete. But Lu Sen is not interested in these. Time flies, and it's mid-December in a blink of an eye. The very next week after the school finished compiling the list of students who would stay on campus for Christmas, a piece of news that made the young wizards excited was announced on the forum. The school had formed a dueling club. By the evening, almost all the young wizards in the school had returned to the auditorium. The dining tables here have been removed and replaced with a long dueling stage. Lu Sen and his companions really hope that Professor Felivi can teach them how to duel, because he once won the duel competition when he was young. Unfortunately, the person presiding over the duel was Gilderoy Lockhart, whom everyone hated. After he recovered, he seemed to have completely forgotten the embarrassing things he had done, and walked onto the dueling stage with a smile on his face. Come around, come around. Can everyone see me? Can everyone hear me? Great. Well, in light of the terrible incidents that have occurred recently, I have applied to Headmaster Dumbledore to open this little dueling club so that you can be fully trained in case you need to defend yourself one day, using the methods I have used countless times to protect myself. For details on this, please see my published works. Next, let's invite my assistant, Professor Snape. He told me that he knows a thing or two about dueling. The young wizards turned their attention to the other end of the duel stage, and Snape walked up with a gloomy face, wearing the same black cloak that never changed. Lockhart was completely oblivious to other people's expressions and continued to belittle Snape and elevate himself, thinking he was being funny and humorous. Don't worry, I will return your potions professor to you in full later. Lu Sen knew Snape well, and from the curve of the other's mouth he knew that Lockhart was going to be in trouble. As expected, as soon as the duel between the two began, Snape raised his hand and fired an Expelliarmus spell, but this spell was obviously enhanced. The spell emitted a dazzling white light in the air, and even a ring of magic light burst out during the flight. The magic power stirred up the airflow, and the power could be felt even from a distance. Lockhart's wand instantly slipped out of his hand and flew away, hitting the wall behind him before sliding down limply. Lu Sen and his companions applauded, and at the same time cheers came from the other side, from Malfoy and several Slytherins. Well, you all saw it. Lockhart staggered back onto the stage. It's a disarming charm, as you can see. I've lost my wand. But... He turned his gaze to Snape. Don't mind me saying this, your intention just now was too obvious. If I wanted to stop you, it would be effortless. Snape's face suddenly took on a murderous look, and Lockhart was so frightened that he hurriedly said to the young wizards, the demonstration ends here. Let me guide you now. Who wants to go first? Lu Sen couldn't help but burst out laughing. Lockhart was so pretentious and cowardly. Ahaha. It seems that Mr. Lu Sen is very confident in himself. Come on. Let me choose an equally powerful opponent for you. Lockhart didn't know what Lu Sen did last semester. He just thought that he was a rich second-generation troublemaker who was arrogant and knew a little magic. But when he looked around with a smile, he was surprised to find that both the classmates of Lu Sen's grade and the young wizards in the senior grades subconsciously stepped back, and even dared not look directly into Lockhart's eyes, for fear of being pointed at. Are you kidding me? Lu Sen's lightning sword is not something a human can do. Not to mention that he has secretly learned a lot of black magic this year. Don't point at me, I don't want to die. Almost all the little wizards thought so in their hearts. In the silence, Snape took a few steps forward, folded his arms and looked down at Lu Sen. The demonstration just now was not up to standard. Why don't I have a competition with Mr. Lu Sen? I think it would be hard for a special player like you to find an opponent among your peers. The little wizard's eyes suddenly lit up, and those who were prejudiced against Lu Sen even thought that it would be best if the two of them died together. Lu Sen touched his nose and looked at Snape in astonishment. Duel with me? Did you find out that I blew up the classroom? It's not impossible to have a fight. It's a good opportunity to test my strength. So Lu Sen quickly stepped forward under the opponent's resentful gaze and jumped onto the duel stage nimbly. Lu Sen and Snape stood on each side of the duel stage, turned around and bowed slightly to each other. Then they raised their wands in front of their chests like arrows and took a duel stance. It's just that Lu Sen's thick magic wand looks a bit out of place. Lockhart, the referee, counted from the audience, 1, 2, 3. When the number 3 rang, both of them quickly released a spell. All of them were cast silently and at an extremely fast speed. 2 magic spells, one red and one blue, collided in mid-air, cancelling each other out and disappearing into nothing. The first attack by both of them was a tentative one, without using their full strength, and they tacitly used magic with little power. But then the attacks became more intensive. The two men were like two swordsmen. With the twisting of their wrists, several magic spells were thrown at each other at the slightest chance, but were easily deflected by each other. Chopping, stabbing, picking, swinging, and tapping, magic of various colors collided in the air, and after being bounced off, they deviated from the straight line and hit each other behind, and for a moment they were difficult to distinguish. The little wizards screamed and retreated quickly, only feeling a little safer when they leaned against the walls on both sides. Is this all you're capable of, Lu Sen? You've wasted your little IQ on mischief, haven't you? Snape mocked, trying to deliver a double attack with language and magic. Lu Sen had never experienced such a satisfying magic battle before. Last semester, he was bullied by Quirrell and Voldemort's superb magic skills. After practicing secretly for so long, he finally saw the results. He couldn't help but feel more and more happy as the battle went on. How could that be? I'm afraid of hurting the professor. Haha. Just you. Lu Sen quietly changed his fighting style and used the crowd control skill, cooking skill, just me. Eliminate your weapons. A chain of lightning formed instantly, covering the entire duel arena. Now I win. But Snape was not panicked at all. He turned his wrist, raised the wand from bottom to top, and then moved it left and right. In a flash, not only did he split the lightning chain, he even had enough energy to control the deflected spell and hit the little wizards on both sides. The wands of all the young wizards were pulled by a huge force at the same time. Only a few senior elites controlled their wands at the last moment, and the rest all lost their wands. In an instant, all the young wizards collectively felt the power of Expelliarmus. Expelliarmus chain lightning was so terrifying. Snape's counterattack followed closely, and Lu Sen clearly felt that the opponent's magic was a bit more powerful than before, and resistance became more and more difficult. Moreover, Lu Sen discovered that many of the opponent's magics were curved. They almost curved and hit him. His defense became more and more chaotic. Seeing that he had no chance to defend himself, Lu Sen quickly found a gap in his attack and gave himself an armor protection. After taking 2 spells head-on, Lu Sen took a breath and then cast 3 large-scale spells in succession. Unfortunately, the tactic of making up for lack of skills with numbers was of little use to Snape. Not only did he easily separate the magic lightning chain, but he also cast a magic that Lu Sen had not expected. Call the gods to protect you. Hey hey! A silvery white mist of magic emerged from Snape's wand and instantly formed an animal running on 4 hooves in mid-air. The silver-white figure was as fast as lightning, its hooves stepping lightly in the air, and it appeared in front of Lu Sen in the blink of an eye. Although the shape of the animal was a little blurry under Snape's deliberate control, Lu Sen knew that it was a doe-pin adult female deer. Lu Sen suddenly felt something was wrong and threw several spells at him, including the disarming spell, the fire spell, and even the stop spell, but none of them had any effect at all. After taking a few steps back, Lu Sen's eyes lit up. Since there was no entity, he could only fluorescent glow. The thunder flame light sword flew out in response, and with blazing light and heat it instantly slashed towards the doe's neck. Swish! Puff! Lu Sen was hit in the stomach and was knocked out. The lightsaber failed to cause any damage to the doe. It was like 2 beams of light crossing each other. Apart from emitting a brighter light at the point of contact, there was no reaction at all. Lu Sen was knocked off the duel stage and felt angry. This is cheating. Ha! Snape put away his dueling stance. You lost the moment you used the armor protection charm to block the attack. What was going on in your little head? If this was a real duel, you would have been dead. Lu Sen complained in his heart, in a real battle, you would have turned into ashes long ago. I haven't even used my ultimate move yet. However, he also admitted that he still needed to practice more magic skills and improve his combat awareness. And the last patroness was too unexpected. Lu Sen's eyes lit up, I want to learn too. Thinking of this, Lu Sen humbly bowed slightly to Snape. Lu Sen's attitude greatly satisfied Snape. You simply dispersed the magic, which did not make the spell more powerful. Instead, it made each branch weaker. Your level is too low. Haha, practice slowly. Vegetable. The little wizards below didn't think so. They were all stunned. Lu Sen's large-scale disarm you attack disarmed 90% of their little wizards. This is too abnormal. After witnessing Lu Sen's exciting cross-level duel against Snape, the young wizards all began to discuss it excitedly. The most common saying is, Lu Sen is indeed the Hogwarts little devil. How can a second-year student be so strong? Is this reasonable? Is this magic? The other part of the people's attention was on Snape. What spell did the professor use at the end? It was amazing. He could even ignore Lu Sen's lightning sword. I turned from a hater to a fan. Professor Snape is awesome. Chapter 139. Just as the young wizards were lost in thought, the neglected Lockhart hurried forward and started to make another round of sarcasm, describing the duel between Lu Sen and Snape as a collection of errors full of loopholes, as if he could do the same. Snape narrowed his eyes, obviously displeased. He turned and gave Lu Sen a look, and the latter immediately understood what he meant. Professor Lockhart, there are still a few points I don't quite understand. How about you guide me personally? Lockhart's face changed drastically, but he immediately displayed his expression management skills as good as an 8th level actor, and quickly showed his high moral character. No, no, no. You just had a fierce duel. It would be too much for me to spar with you again. As he spoke, he showed a kind smile and said, Kid, you have consumed too much magic power. Go down and have a rest. Next, we will switch groups. Let me see, Harry, you and Ron will be in the same group. Snape disagreed with this golden combination. Perhaps competition between different colleges can help them grow faster. What do you think? I recommend Malfoy from our school, okay? After saying that, he didn't give Lockhart any chance to choose. He turned around and pointed quickly at Malfoy in the crowd, then quickly pointed his thumb at the dueling stage behind him. The movements were smooth and flowing, and the postures were unexpectedly handsome. When Malfoy heard that he could duel with Harry, his eyes suddenly lit up. He looked at Harry provocatively and walked onto the dueling stage. Harry naturally refused to be outdone and stepped forward to fight without hesitation. The crowd gathered around again, obviously knowing that the duel between the two men was not likely to be as dangerous as before. Only use the disarming charm. I don't want any accidents, okay? 1, 2. But before Lockhart could count to 3, Malfoy attacked first. Harry was immediately hit by a spell and staggered back a few steps. Compared with Lu Sen's battle against Snape, Harry and Malfoy's attack strength and speed were several notches lower. It was like a head-on game turned into a turn-based game. The two of them fought back and forth, and the other side responded with whatever they threw. There was no sense of beauty in the battle. Harry used a magic to turn the game around, and Malfoy was hit and flew backwards, hitting his butt on the dueling stage, causing everyone to laugh. The frustrated Malfoy had angry eyes and angrily cast a small evil curse, "Black snake come out of the hole." After a loud bang, a pitch-black poisonous snake flew out of nowhere, hit the ground, and quickly raised its head, baring its fangs and approaching Harry. The crowd immediately screamed and everyone took 2 steps back, fearing that they would be noticed by the venomous snake. Snape saw Harry's panicked expression and walked quickly and worriedly to the dueling stage. "Harry, don't move, let me help you get rid of it." But Lockhart ran 2 steps. "Let me do it. I know this. Alard Ascender." This magic spell instantly blew the venomous snake up to more than 2 meters high, but after falling down, the snake was not only unharmed, but also became more ferocious. It raised half of its body, showing its sharp fangs, and aimed at the nearest little wizard to attack. Justin Finch-Fletchley was terrified. Why did the snake target him? At this moment, Lu Sen on the side pushed him away and said, "Come on, I know this one." As he said this, he quickly drew a talisman on his hand, and when he slapped it on his body, a golden light flashed the golden bell talisman. "If you are confident in your teeth, come and try it." The giant monster said it was good after chewing it. "It hurts your teeth." With the golden bell talisman protecting his body, Lu Sen was completely fearless of minor physical damage for a short period of time. He simply stretched out his index finger provocatively and performed a sophisticated move, which was said to be a unique skill created by combining the lion's roar skill and the one-finger Zen. "Come here." The poisonous snake was immediately attracted and rushed towards Lu Sen. But at this moment, a low and hoarse murmur came from the stage. The voice was like the whisper of a devil, making people feel cold all over. It was Harry. The incomprehensible language that didn't sound like a human voice came from him. Amid the stunned expressions of the classmates, the snake suddenly became confused, and turned its head repeatedly between Lu Sen and Harry, as if it was in a dilemma. Snape took the opportunity to step forward and quickly waved his wand. The poisonous snake was immediately ignited by magic and turned into a wisp of black smoke and disappeared. Snape's eyes were complicated, and he looked at Harry with confusion and worry. The young wizards also began to talk in low voices. Lu Sen listened attentively. It seemed that they were discussing Harry and Lu Sen are both Parcel Tonguis. "Hey! I'm not." Seeing the sudden change in the situation, Snape quickly stopped the duel club and asked the young wizards to return in an orderly manner. Harry was completely confused on the way. How could he stop a poisonous snake from attacking his classmates? Why did other wizards look at him and Lu Sen so strangely? Ron looked worried and asked, "You two are Parcel Tonguis? Why didn't you say so earlier?" Harry had no idea what it meant, so he asked, "What's the snake's dialect?" "Madong." "Ugh. Parseltongue. You can talk to snakes." "Oh, this? I once chatted with a python in the zoo. It said it was a Brazilian snake that was born in the zoo. I accidentally released it, and the snake helped me scare my cousin. Isn't this something every little wizard can do?" Lu Sen shook his head and chuckled, "Haha, silly Harry. Not everyone can talk to snakes. This is a very rare talent. In history, only Salazar Slytherin and a few of his descendants could do it." Harry was even more confused. "Me? Slytherin? Impossible. Absolutely impossible." Ron and Hermione looked at Lu Sen with horror. "You have Slytherin blood." Lu Sen tilted his head, "I didn't. I don't know snake language at all. I just pushed Justin away and shouted something. You can attract the snake's attention by shouting, right? Ron and Hermione looked at each other. But at that time, it was like you two were competing in snake controlling skills, said Hermione. After a lot of explanation, Lucien was finally cleared of his grievances. But Harry frowned. He had heard very special whispers before, and each time they were accompanied by terrible events. This. Harry told his friends about the doubts in his mind. Lucien wanted to give the spoiler directly, but after thinking it over, he still did not announce the final answer. A few days ago in Dumbledore's office, Lucien talked about the basilisk, but Harry didn't know how dangerous that thing was. But if Hermione knew about the basilisk, she would spread it everywhere out of a sense of justice. Once the diary found out, it might cause trouble, which would be even more difficult to deal with. The enemy is in the dark and we are in the light. The best plan for now is to pretend that we don't know, and then destroy the diary in one fell swoop when it reveals its true identity. However, Lucien did not want to watch his classmates die. He asked Xylee to post more than a dozen forum posts, exaggerating the stories about curses, Medusa, and traps hidden with evil curses. While making the young wizards more alert, it also interferes with the diary's vision, making it think that no one knows about the basilisk. Chapter 140. A snowstorm came suddenly, and Lucien was immediately in a good mood. The long-awaited skiing competition was about to begin, and this snow was simply the icing on the cake. But Harry was in a very bad mood. He didn't sleep much all night because he was thinking about the parcel tongue issue. With dark circles under his eyes, he asked Lucien what to do. What should I do? Just ignore it. Let others say whatever they want. If you really have nothing to do, come with me to the library to read books, so you don't have to worry about random things. The first class was herbology, but Professor Sprout had already announced on the forum that the class was suspended. Because she had more important things to do, put socks on each mandrake and put a scarf around it. Mandrake is of utmost importance now, and Mrs. Norris and Colin are still waiting for it to save their lives. Arriving at the library, Lucien began to sweep the bookshelves. He wanted to find some inspiration for the bobsleigh race and feed the little raccoon whose taste was becoming more and more picky. Harry was unable to help, so he wandered around the library. As a result, when he passed by a row of study desks, he unexpectedly overheard the conversation of the Hufflepuff little wizards. They were discussing Lucien and Harry. They are both heirs of Slytherin. But in the end, only one of them will be able to control the Chamber of Secrets. So they are competing. Remember the writing on the wall? Those who are enemies of the heir, beware. One of them is declaring war. Mrs. Norris is Filch's cat. This must have been done by Harry. Because Filch and Lucien have a good relationship. This is Harry's way of showing off his power. Colin Creevey adores Harry. Lucien directly uses him as a return gift. Warn Harry not to be too arrogant. Justin Finch Fletchley was right next to Lucien on the day of the duel. Harry attacked the people around him directly. This was a blatant counterattack. Lucien loves to study black magic, and his magic is so powerful, he will definitely be able to control the secret room. Nonsense. Harry is also very powerful. Have you forgotten that he killed you-know-who when he was still a baby? It must be the dark magic in the Slytherin blood that protected him. His blood is purer. Lucien must have mastered the secret room. His ghost army has infiltrated every corner of the school. Should we report it? I have reported it anonymously. Harry clenched his fists. He didn't understand where these rumors came from. Such groundless rumors were made up into something very convincing. Just as he was about to explain, Lucien patted him on the shoulder. Let's go, Harry. I have a new idea for the competition. Several Hufflepuff wizards looked back and felt a chill down their spines. Harry was right behind them. Lucien wasn't far away either. It was over. They were talking about the competition? It must be the competition for the Chamber of Secrets. It was all over. Will they be silenced? The little wizard who had just spoken the most cheerfully was frightened, and quickly said in a trembling voice, well. My family has been pure blood for 9 generations. My ancestor is the brother-in-law of the niece of Salazar Slytherin's cousin, and he is also a blood uncle. I am one of us. One of us. What a mess. Lucien tilted his head and frowned. Did this little badger eat spoiled food? Why was he so weird? Without paying any attention to them, Lu Sen turned around and asked Harry to leave the library. On the way, Harry told Lu Sen about the exciting rumors he had heard. Lu Sen listened with great interest and felt that it was a waste of talent for these guys not to go to Tomato to write novels. Seeing that Lu Sen didn't take it seriously, Harry suddenly became very anxious. Just as he was about to persuade Lu Sen to think of a solution, he suddenly tripped over something. Outside the window, the sky was overcast and snow was falling heavily. The corridor was much darker than usual. The two men looked down and were horrified to find two petrified people on the ground, and a ghost. One was Justin Tinfinfletch, who was lying on the ground with a terrified look on his face and his body stiff. The other, or part of it, is Sir Nicholas's head. At this time, Sir Nicholas's head was no longer milky white and translucent, but black and smoky. The two looked around. The corridor was empty, with no one else there. Another attack. Harry's heart was pounding and his breathing was rapid. He carefully searched the surroundings for clues, but found nothing except a group of fleeing spiders. His head is here, where is the body? Lu Sen looked at the petrified ghost head curiously. Lu Sen shouted, "Shadow Guard! Something is happening here." This was the code name Lu Sen gave to the ghosts following him. Soon, a ghost floated over from each end of the corridor. They were stunned when they saw this scene. Ghosts could actually be petrified. After talking with them, Lu Sen frowned. They were just separated by a corridor, but they were completely unaware of anything. He knew that the basilisk moved in the sewer pipes inside the walls, so it was elusive and difficult to find its traces, but he didn't expect it to be so difficult to defend against. He had previously tried to have the ghosts follow the hidden sewers to find the secret room, but was unsuccessful due to the effect of the Fideliu's charm. More shadow guards were mobilized, and they acted very quickly. The professors were quickly notified, and Sir Nicholas' body was quickly found. Part of his body was not petrified. It seemed that he was practicing flying headfirst in the corridor. After his head was petrified, his body lost control and floated forward for a distance. After passing through two walls, it stopped in a broom closet. The discoverer was Peeves, who had only a head left. He directly connected himself to Sir Nicholas's body and successfully controlled himself to float out. So the combination of Sir Pippi, who sounds rude but is a gentleman in body, was successful. If it were any other time, everyone would have burst into laughter, but now people were in a heavy mood. It was another attack, and neither humans nor ghosts were spared. Dumbledore immediately called Lu Sen and the other man to his office and asked for details. Upon learning that Lu Sen could not accurately predict what would happen next, Dumbledore frowned and his forehead wrinkles deepened. Lu Sen suggested that his shadow guards raid the dormitories of all the young wizards, find the diaries directly, and end this disaster. But after thinking for a moment, Dumbledore rejected this plan, believing that the chances of success were low and that failure to seize the diary would surely lead to more radical retaliation. The headmaster then announced a decision that made Lu Sen and Harry extremely uncomfortable, cancelling the sled race and the subsequent Quidditch game until the problem of the Chamber of Secrets was solved. Lu Sen was so angry that his teeth were itching. If Diary had been educated, would there be so many things? Without these things, wouldn't the bobsleigh race be held as usual? So, Diary, you're done. When I catch you, I'll make you believe in the light. After this incident, the rumors about the little wizards became more credible. Harry attacked Justin Finch-Fletchley again. Lu Sen wanted to grab the prey first, but accidentally injured Headless Nick who was keeping watch for him. Harry won this round. Just wait and see. Lu Sen will definitely take revenge on Harry next time. Those around him will be in trouble. But the people around Harry are also Lu Sen's friends. Haha. They are studying the dark arts. They have gone crazy a long time ago. Their thinking is definitely different from that of normal people. Amid rumors, the young wizards rushed to board the Hogwarts Express to go home and enjoy the precious safe time during the Christmas holidays.